What is going on, all you tanks, healers, and damage dealers? I am Sephiroth, joined by the wonderful Vincent, to bring you yet another day of Contenders Trials and A Division. Vincent, how are you, my man?
Oh man, Sephiroth, I am feeling absolutely wonderful, and boy, am I excited for some more Contenders Trials nonsense and amazing Overwatch. I mean, we have everything. I can't wait for it. Well, to start us out, though, we got a Alliance and Malice. Two teams, as we can see, they've had some tough runs thus far, leading in from that game into Drifters and Wisp, that I think is going to be a bit of a spicy matchup.
Yeah.
But I'm going to put that onto the back burner for the time being. So we're going to talk about the match that we have upcoming right in front of our eyes. Obey Alliance, they're winless at the moment. An unfortunate winless scenario where, honestly, I mean, listen, I feel like this team's a solid team, but they clearly have not been able to put together the victories just yet. And Malice, a sole win to their name in that day one victory against Uprising Academy. And, well, I mean, Uprising Academy simply haven't looked back since then.
Very true.
It felt like that was just kind of an Uprising Academy that Malice got, got lucky to catch. I'll just be honest. But regardless, it's been a bit of a rough go of it for this Malice side since then. 1-3 overall, 3 losses right after that. And I mean, the craziest part about this is that both of these teams have had 3 out of their 4 series go to 5 maps. I don't know what the precedence is for that, Sept, but it's incredible.
Yeah, I mean, incredible to say the least. And Obey Alliance, I even said this when the last time we had the opportunity to cast them. They feel like one of these teams, they're like at 80% success, right? Like they're so close. There's like 1 or 2 pieces missing of the puzzle to really kick this team into high gear. And I feel like if they can figure out what that is, if they can find that small shortcoming and kind of run with it, they can really turn things around. But unfortunately, like you said, not quite a win under their belts yet. But I think up against Malice, they've got a great opportunity here today. Malice, like you said, they've only got that 1 win prepared coming into this match. But realistically, I think this could be another map 5. I realistically could. These teams, they're really not that far apart in terms of standings.
Well, they're not, but I wanna kind of pull that back just a little bit, though, because I think for Malice, this is not only a must-win game for them to have any type of chance. I mean, they're second to the very bottom there in the standings, and because of how close, obviously, the standings are with so few games, there's still, I think, a mathematical possibility that they go through, but they're going to have to get really lucky with some key losses and all that kind of stuff. I didn't do all the math, but what I will say is that Malice need to come out swinging. If they want to be in the running for moving towards that contender spot, they really do need to step up. And for me, I think that they have the opportunity. I think that the DPS line and the support lineup from Malice, at least on paper, I feel could have an advantage. I say could. That said, it's hard to know, especially considering, I mean, this Obey Alliance side, I think we said it last time we casted them. They just have a lot of experience, so like that's the scary part. It feels like they should be a bit better than they are, and the fact that they're not, it kind of leaves you wondering.
Yeah, definitely leaves you scratching your head a little bit on kind of how they've fallen into the situation that they have. Maybe they're finally ready to bring that kind of veteran status, if you will, kind of that long-term team. And like you said, the experience between the 6 of them, I mean, that the 6 that we have seen is just, it's nothing to shy away from. They really do have a lot of experience between them as a group and as individuals. And Malice, we talked about this in the beginning, kind of during, right before we actually went out of the broadcast, you and I were discussing, Malice, there's a great opportunity. They come in here and they clean sweep a 3-0, or there's a great opportunity that this goes to a map 5, and really we think it could fall kind of on one of those 2 extremes, but not really anywhere in the middle. I think a lot of how today is going to go is going to depend on how strong Malice comes out the gate.
Yeah, I have to fully agree. Malice are going to be the tone setters, so to speak, in this matchup. They have to be, in my opinion. It has to be Malice coming out, swinging, really showing up big time. Otherwise, I think not only could this be a 5-mapper, but this is more than likely going to be Malice out of the conversation for the time being, at least for the contenders, as we are looking at the map pool here. Starting out over on Ilios is going to be an interesting one to start us out. I mean, listen, all control maps are a good time, but Ilios in particular I find quite enjoyable.
Yeah, no, I could not agree more. Ilios, not only do I think it is beautiful, but as a Reinhardt player, I get a lot of value here on Ruins in particular, which is going to be the first stage of Ilios we are jumping into. I think this is a fun map, and maybe Ryan's not always the hero that should be picked on it, but I will pick him anyway because I think swinging that hammer is just a lot of fun. But now we just see if these teams are going to come out. Are they going to be bringing out that Ryan Zarya, perhaps a Ryan Diva, maybe that double bubble? Vincent, what comp do you think falls best here on Ruins?
Well, I mean, the obvious answer I feel is got to be the more brawly type style, but I think literally anything can work on Ruins, especially if you want to play around like a Widowmaker. Obviously, that's a little bit less meta like right this second. But interestingly enough, we are seeing this double bubble, or not double bubble, my apologies, double shield composition come through from Obey Alliance with the Baptiste and the Lucio. I think this makes a lot of sense, and this is kind of been run quite a bit, but more on that classic dive comp that we have tended to see, though, with the Reaper and the Sombra coming out here for Malice. I think an interesting differentiation, and my eyes are on the DPS line here for Malice. They need to be the big difference makers, in my opinion.
Absolutely. I mean, it's really going to come down to kind of that Sombra versus that McCree matchup here. We see a lot of similarities across the line. Just in that Reaper on both sides, we see the Lucio, of course, he's kind of a mainstay pick for the time being, especially on these control points. You want to get in close. You want to get up close and personal. And now Buck trying to do just that on the Reaper, but instead Petal with that first elimination onto Angelic. Crazy Cat does pick up Buck. One Reaper did find another in tree. He will be able to find Cakefish. So that main tank being taken offline, or, I guess he's actually not, whatever. That single being taken offline here is going to be not exactly what we want to be seeing early on, but Petal finding tree is going to be a great turnaround as well. That's kind of force us into a little bit of a stalemate, gives both times plenty of time for that recontest. And Malice, Sluggo with already an early coalescence, desperate to find any kind of healing, any kind of elimination to keep his team alive. That forces out the window from Paintbrush, and now looks like Malice, they've got themselves a free fifth of the point.
Yeah, I mean, this is very solid stuff. And like I said, all on to my Crazy Cat to first kind of set that tone before the first of those ultimates coming online.
Yeah, speaking of ultimates coming online, we see Petal going for the high noon. Looks like it may have just been a fancy reload, but Crazy Cat instead going to be able to find Paintbrush in the back line. That Baptiste taken offline. There goes Immortality Field as well. Tree finds Buck, and now Joe will be the next one to fall. My Crazy Cat on this Reaper so far, the name to watch out for. I mean, he is just tearing this team apart. Malice looking quite good already.
Yeah, my Crazy Cat coming in at the very last minute, by the way. We were he wasn't in, and then he was just a second before the game got underway, and seems to be the perfect swap around because my Crazy Cat has set the tone here left, right, and center for this Malice side. This is really good, the opening has been, and look at the ult advantage that we're going to have for Malice. 6 of them coming up online, and Tree with that big value EMP. There's nobody even engaging. It's quite hard to engage on this, especially when Akash is just making Tense's life miserable.
Yep, Akash just takes Tensa out of the fight straight away, and here comes that EMP, and I doubt we're going to see the bomb, but instead they're going to be summoning that Death Blossom, able to pick up 2, 3 with the help of Crowley there, so the bomb EMP not going to be coming through. Instead, a little bit of an EMP Death Blossom, not something you see often, but looks like it's working out well for Malice. Obey Alliance, they're going to get stuck all the way back into their spawn, and Malice, they're going to return to point. They know they've only got 10 seconds left. This has been a quick round of Ilios.
Yeah, they're going to have to run, get in here quickly. Sure, they're going to have ults, but it's going to be a difficult one. They should be able to touch, though, as Obey Alliance backs against the wall now.
Yeah, their backs against the wall indeed. Crowley's going to be able to find that supercharger early on, so Joe's ultimate down the drain. 4 more coming out quickly from Obey Alliance. They're desperate to find even a single elimination coming through a tree. Instead, going to be able to pick up Petal. That's going to make this so much harder for Obey Alliance. It's time for Buck to save the day. Can he do it? He finds one. He looks for another. Joe picks up Crowley. Crazy Cat finds Tensa. Buck will fall the tree once again. And Malice, they've just got the numbers. They've got the damage, and they don't even need the ultimate so far. They are burning through Obey Alliance here.
That they are, but I mean, listen, Paintbrush's positioning up on top is doing well until Sluggo has something to say. Great patience from Malice to wait, allow the recap to come through, and then come back in a little bit later. It's not going to work out for them in their favor just yet, but it is an intelligent decision because look at what Tree has building up once again. With so much time to work with, pretty much Malice can bank all the ultimates they want, press Q all at once, and then just write their ticket straight to the bank in victory for this map number 1.
Absolutely, and they're looking for victory right here, right now. Malice going to be coming in strong. Crazy Cat does pick up Buck, so that Reaper already gone a lot of damage, and a 5-man EMP coming through from Tree. That's got to be the nail in the coffin. They just clean up the rest of Obey Alliance here, and 35% is unfortunately not going to be 100. Malice, they lose one fight, but they come back and win the next one twice as strong. to be a phenomenal look here on Ilios Ruins. They're going to take that first stage, and now they're only one stage away from taking a first point.
Yeah, and I was kind of alluding to that prior to this, where I kind of was saying I really rate the DPS lineup of Malice over that of Obey Alliance, and I was maybe a bit tentative in saying that only because I have so much respect for Petal and Buck. I think they're really solid players, but Tree and my Crazy Cat both just kind of they instill the fear, in me as a support player that I don't feel Petal or Buck do at the minute, and it's being put on display live in front of our eyes in stage number 1 on Ilios, showing us exactly what they have to do, and we're gonna see a pretty much exact same composition coming through either side, though as I say that, Cakefish swapping onto the Diva as they walk out. So just that main tank going to be Joe with the Orisa. It's gonna be an interesting composition. I'll be interested to see how they pull off these rotations.
Yeah, I'm definitely curious to see how these rotations are going to be coming out as well. I think the DPS, like you said, Tree and Crazy Cat just doing a phenomenal job. Sombra, her ultimate, in my opinion, the strongest in the game. The EMP is just a fight-ending ultimate 100% of the time. So I'm curious to see, are they going to be relying on that as they were on Ruins? Or are they going to be maybe Crazy Cat's going to drop into the back line, try to pick up an early kill, might be able to force out quite a few abilities here, but is he going to be able to make it out? That's the real question. Just really able to wraith it out there. And Malice with a very early cap coming through. I mean, Obey Alliance, that's kind of a point cap they're going to walk back.
Well, yeah, and this just kind of flips the pressure, right? Now you put pressure onto Obey Alliance. They have to cap the point, and it's really solid. And look, Joe goes down because of that point pressure I was just talking about.
Yeah, Joe will be the first one to fall, and Orisa, she may have fallen. Oh, no! Crowley Cakefish with the boosters, able to find that Diva and take them offline. So there's Hank missing respectively on both sides, but Buck maybe the next to go. No, just barely able to make it back through. My Crazy Cat does not get that kill quite yet. Petal instead going to be able to find Angelic, the Lucio taken offline here on the side of Malice. Obey Alliance coming through. Looks like we've seen some great value so far.
Indeed. Big, huge plays. But again, look at this stall, right? Like, you get a little bit of extra time. All right. As we get through, I'm not too sure what's going on. I think we might have a pause incoming. Not too sure.
Yeah, certainly, and Petal and Buck going to be able to pick up these eliminations coming through. It's going to be some good value, but like you said, we've heard just a minute ago, we may get some pauses coming in just a second, which seems to always happen. You can't really have any kind of production without some pausing, you know what I mean? It seems to come through, and it looks like they be coming to fruition here in just a moment.
Yeah, so we are just going to be able to see our beautiful faces for just a moment whilst we get some issues sorted out. But like we were talking about, just everything kind of working out well for Malice thus far.
Yeah, absolutely, and the players are still going to be playing. We'll try to keep you guys updated as we can. We've got to get this production issue figured out, so you're stuck with our gorgeous faces. Right now, Obey Alliance does have about 40% on the point, and the question on everybody's mind is, are they going to be able to keep it? They did this on Ilios Ruins, and then they lost it in the next fight. Now, EMP Death Blossom is online once again. That could be exactly what we need to be looking for here from Malice.
Well, that's just right. Like, I mean, we talked about the power of EMP, and you're absolutely right about it. It doesn't matter the number of ultimates available on the other side. If you get that EMP and you put it in the right spot, it's always going to be an effective use.
Speaking of EMP, we see 58% online here for Obey Alliance, and Malice looks like they may actually lose this fight. They commit 3, make it 4 ultimates. They are desperate to take this one, but Cakefish is going to be able to find Crowley. Tree has already fallen as well, and just disaster after disaster here. I mean, Akasha is finally going to be able to find something. Picks up Petal. Buck's going to fall as well, and Malice, they might be able to turn this one around, but Obey Alliance, they are standing strong here on Ilios as well. Now we're reaching about 76%.
That it is, and you talked about it, the huge investment of ultimates there that we saw go through, yeah, from Malice. And, well, speaking of investments, there's another one.
Oh, goodness! I mean, Crazy Cat, that may have done it. They may have cracked this fight open, but now they're not going to have one ultimate to their name here on this next fight.
And with 90% in ticking as well, that's a big problem. It's going to have to be a very clean engagement, I think, from Malice if they're going to really be able to actually turn this around. Maybe if there's enough time, Sluggo can pick up a potential coalescence here. But ultimately, it's going to have to be a big pick that comes through in the favor of Malice. Otherwise, I think this might be point 2 going over to Obey Alliance.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we see Obey Alliance. They've lost the point, 65% online here for Malice, but 93 for Obey Alliance. So they're that one fight away. The high noon coming out from Petal here is going to be able to find a little bit. Instead, Crowley's going to pick up 10, so that is going to be a crucial elimination for Malice here. I mean, we see some great value coming through. through, and now 75% online for Malice. They are one good fight away. Ultimates or not, they are just 1 or 2 eliminations short of taking Helios one.
Yeah, and need to get that Lucio. That was key. That was a huge knockdown.
Wow, he just ate every single bullet of that death blossom box. Sent back to one straight away. Malice. Now they're your show. You talk about it. They come out strong. They don't even need it. Trade that last stuff coming through. 96% online for Malice. 93 for Obey Alliance. So things get a lot closer, but 93 does not matter. They needed that clean 100 to keep Helios alive, but instead Malice coming through with a 2-0 victory on Helios.
Man, it looked so good for Obey Alliance.
So good.
I thought they had it. It looked perfect. They had 90% and so much time to bank up those ultimates, but unfortunately, it was, like I said, a key pick going the way of Malice early on in those fights. Unfortunately, we didn't get to catch all of them, but regardless, it made it so much easier for the entirety of Malice to walk through, and Obey Alliance, unfortunately, just kind of faltered under that pressure that was coming down on top of them. Plus, can we not understate my Crazy Cat? What an incredible performance my Crazy Cat had.
Goodness.
Wow. Yeah. Just so much impact. I mean, talk about the Death Blossoms in just the regular fight. You know, no ultimates involved. Plus, we talk about the ultimate big shutdown with the help, like you were saying, of the off-tank there to shut down on Buck, the opposing Death Blossom, no more.
Yeah, no, I was terrified for Malice there on Helios well when they came through and used 5 ultimates in one fight, and then it just kind of fell apart immediately after for them. And then they came out, they didn't need those ultimates as well. And now I think we're going to be throwing into a quick break between our next map and this one. I think our next map moving forward is going to be New Bonnie, but we'll find out in just a minute, I believe. So we'll see you folks in just a couple of minutes. Don't go far. Welcome back, all you tanks, healers, and damage dealers. Still Sepulence and Vincent there after that short break to bring you map 2 between Malice and Obey Alliance. Now, I know you guys didn't get to see all of Helios there toward the end. We had a little bit of production error on our side. We've hopefully got that all figured out for you. Moving into Bonnie. Vincent, do you think Malice is going to stay as strong as they looked there on Helios?
Man, it's hard not to. Honestly, it's really hard not to feel as if they are going to just continue taking the reins after the dominate performance that we saw there, at least on stage 1. And then, despite the fact that we thought Obey Alliance had a huge advantage on stage 2, Malice somehow still took the reins and absolutely dominated. So I find it's hard to really bet against them, so to say.
Absolutely.
That said, like we were talking about, this is Malice's to win or lose. They absolutely need to be the ones to come up strong, and I think that they're doing it right now. I think this is very clear, and like we said, if the DPS continue performing along the same lines that we've been seeing, I don't think there's any way that we see anything different as we move towards Numbani, particularly because it was the more divey composition with that Reaper and the Sombra that seemed to have the most effect. That said, I think we are going to get a substitution for the side of Malice. I believe that Sai might be coming in for my Crazy Cat, so we'll have to take that with a grain of salt, see maybe where that goes. But I know that Sai obviously has a lot of characters that they can flex onto, if I'm not mistaken, if I'm remembering correctly. So that additional hero pool might be a big difference maker, particularly on a map like Numbani, where there's quite a few options.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, seeing Sai come in tells me one thing, right? And it's that Malice probably isn't playing Reaper, and that's kind of all we can really take away from that scenario there. And Sai very well may come out on the Reaper. Maybe Crazy Cat was just buying time for Sai. Maybe Sai was running a little late or something. And moving into this, I'm very curious to see, is Tree going to come out of that Sombra? I mean, farming those EMPs like they were free. There was an EMP almost every single fight coming out from that Sombra. And now moving into this Numbani, we're going to see Malice and the defense to start. And I always talk about, I love starting on the defense because you really get to set your own win condition.
That's just right. I mean, it really helps you out because you're never like on the back foot, so to speak. Now, granted, if you let's just say you have a really solid start here, then you can easily just close the map with ease by capping that first point. Otherwise, you kind of know, okay, this is going to be a long one. We got to go all the way to point 3 and cap with some time. Whatever that is, makes a lot of sense. It definitely helps out. All that being said, we are going to have to see whether or not it can be Obey Alliance to make adjustments, to change what they've been doing, and ultimately to come out with a victory here in map number 2 of this series. Like we were talking about, Obey Alliance, they're honestly, I don't want to say out, but they're gonna run into some serious problems. They don't have the greatest of runs right this moment, but they can deny Malice the victory here and deny them any sort of opportunities moving forward. So we look at the compositions, though. Attack sided, it's pretty similar to what we've seen before, though Tensa going to be on this Brigida maybe, and the very classic Ball and Sigma comp with the Ashe and Echo. This is kind of, I feel like I'm going back in time just a little bit, aren't I?
Yeah, just a wee bit. We're seeing maybe some older comps, so to speak, coming through, and the utilization of Tensa on the rig. That is a very high risk, high reward kind of scenario here. You want to get up close and personal with that rig, or she's really very little value when moving in. Orisa, not exactly famous for getting up close and personal, so I find it kind of a very unusual matchup here. And I guess the triple shield is something that I feel is a little bit unusual before, but I do know Tensa in particular is the beast on this Brigida, so maybe that's kind of what they're relying on a little bit here. Going to be going up through this high ground, trying to find some value, but instead beating Tree, affords the ultimate. I mean, already a good look at transition coming through soon. The Dynamite with the science. Not just waiting, knocks you into the ground, so you ripped out hard for it. Bill Williams.
Yeah, and so now we understand what Tint is doing. It all has to do with the cast ball. You cannot deal with that ball without having something to stop them in the backline, and there it is. Tensa taking out the cash on the ball, making it very difficult for really any value out of it, because the whole point is you got to roll through the team, get the placement and everything, and then the rest of the team kind of collapses on top of that. So really solid stuff from this Obey Alliance compositionally, in my opinion, because not only that, but Petal and Flash Bang making life miserable both for Tree and an additional little problem for a cash to deal with whenever you're kind of rolling through their opponents.
Yeah, I mean, this Wrecking Ball, like you said, we're looking at Accretion, we're looking at Flashbang, Shield Bash. I mean, there's so many things to interrupt with Wrecking Ball strategy. And let's see if one of them comes through here. No, able to make it down. The whip shot will come through, but not exactly that. Pedal now coming through behind. It's going to be a little bit hyper-aggressive. 4 minutes and 45 seconds left. And, I mean, Obey Alliance, they have started the game.
I mean, they're continuing, and I mean, great usage, of course, out of well, this is a big investment. I'm not too sure about this investment.
Massive investment from everybody. We are seeing ultimates left, right, and center here. We saw Grenadic Flux come on both sides, Transcendence, as well as that Valkyrie coming out from the side of Malice. And I think really, they're desperate to find their footing, and they're going to use every ultimate they have to do just that.
Well, I mean, they did use everything they had, and I mean,
Right.
it worked out in fairness. They do take advantage, and with 4 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock, I mean, it's a good stop, right? This point in time is certainly an effective way to stop the physical momentum, but the problem is that momentum can continue. You've got a rally coming up online as well as the bongo from Joe, so it's not ideal here for Malice in this position.
Yeah, absolutely. That's certainly not ideal. In fact, this minefield is going to have to be absolutely colossal coming through.
Lifting off.
Street space, either you get full health or you don't stop a movement, and we've seen that OB Alliance pick up not moving once, but I mean barely all those ultimates being invested just for Malice to give up the point. I mean that feels like a huge mistake. OB Alliance, they are, I mean right now, I said it once, I'll say it again, they are rolling for Malice.
Hey.
Yeah, and it doesn't even... listen, I don't want to take anything away from OB Alliance here because they're playing a solid game, but it feels like they're just compositionally outmatched right now, and it feels like Malice is very confused about what they want to do. They don't have a clear plan in place. Their engagements are very rough, and like just there's lack of communication.
Oh.
No one touches. What a find from Buck as well. That's short range finding the long range damage dealer side.
Colossal. I mean, that talk about huge. They're going to get the rest, now you've made them eat up the rest. Now, this wrecking ball, I really feel, has not been working out well for Malice in the slightest. The last 2 fights, we've not seen this wrecking ball show his face, and he finally does. Minefield's completely interrupted, and he pays the price for it. Now, to be fair, Sluggo does find Joe, but it may already be too late. Probably does pick up Fox to the TPS line. Very close to being taken out. There we go. Petal's going to fall out the tree there. There's some joke about nature mixed up in there somewhere. I'm just not quick enough to think of it. 4 minutes left on the clock coming up here, and we finally see Malice get their footing, but, I mean, only a couple of meters away from the end of the map.
Yeah, I mean, the good news is last time it was Malice getting their footing, it took every ultimate in their bank. Now, that's not the case. They have some tools to work with, and, well, it's taken an adjustment from a cache onto the double shield, but that's perfectly all right as long as they can make it work. And, well, they've been doing just that. So my eyes certainly on the tree. That duplication is going to be big.
I wonder if it's going to be out of the Sigma. I realistically think that would make most sense. Entitled being taken out early on, I know we're going to be seeing on transformation despite a 5v6, a 5v7 rather, is certainly quite easy to win here. Zai is going to be able to find Tensa as well, and one by one, the rest of OB Alliance will fall. So Malice, like you said, they've got these ultimates. They don't have to dump every single one of them down the drain, and this Orisa swap coming out a lot later than I would have liked it to, but better late than never.
Exactly right. I mean, that's... and listen, I talked about Tree potentially being the difference maker there. Well, gonna have to be the difference maker in this fight. That time, though, just the easy 1-2 punch of a Bob straight into the back line when you have a bit of a Rabbinic Flux in the front line. So, works perfectly, but... all that being said, Rabbinic Flux online here with Cakefish as well could be a big difference maker.
Yeah, actually, their Rabbinic Flux, like you said, could be a massive difference maker in the garage door. Going to be opened up by Paintbrush here, trying to get some value early on. They're able to find it. You get to rip the shield up, but, you know, buildings are indestructible, so no matter how much you've got, you want to go through that wall anytime soon. Now, there's that Rabbinic Flux onto the Sigma, so I was talking about that last fight. I think it makes a whole bunch of sense. We appreciate a little bit of a cheeky one coming through, trying to find the Rabbinic Flux, able to do just that. Going to pick up, I believe, 3 both supports. Tensa and Paintbrush both able to survive in the second Cakefish. Taken out by Crowley, Joe falls to 3 and kind of loads that Vengeance kill immediately after finding that Echo off. Obey Alliance, looks like they're going to have to at least stall this fight out as they just do not have the numbers.
That they do not. And, well, on top of that, Sluggo keeping hold of this Transcendence is so crucial because Cakefish still has the Rabbinic Flux online. That means that there's going to be a key ultimate to defend against it, and that is Sluggo's Transcendence. So it's all about building up those ultimates on the DPS and the tanks now. Malice, they've got to figure out a way to do just that.
Malice, they've got to come through, they've got to get aggressive. They've got plenty of ultimates. Realistically, dumping them all down the drain, not the worst idea if you win the fight. I mean, getting this much value from phenomenal, but instead of the punch coming out on the side, probably we hear Bob come out, make an appearance, but it may already be too late as 3 have fallen naked. 4 have fallen on the side of Malice. Obey Alliance. Oh, just kidding. 129 left on the clock. They're just barely able to cap all 3 points.
That they are, and I mean, a big mistake there from Sluggo, like I was talking about. A bit aggressive on the usage of that Transcendence. Didn't wait. Actually, was forced to. I mean, in fairness, was forced to. I'm making it sound like it was a decision. Had to save the team from a different thing that was threatening them. But unfortunately, it was a bit early on, and it did allow for Cakefish to get big value out of the Rabbinic Flux that came in just after that Transcendence left, and it made it I mean, just impossible, really, for Malice to do anything against the onslaught of damage. And I mean, on top of that, you have the supercharger. I mean, that thing's so powerful in and of itself. So a decent hold, I think, all things considered, particularly because the opening stages of this map were so one-sided in the favor of Obey Alliance. I think Malice did a good job of actually just making an adjustment and actually working with it, but that does leave them in a very tough position where now they've got to push, and they've got to push this fairly quickly.
Yeah, it's fascinating because realistically there's only 2 fights I can really think of that Malice won during that defense, and it was the one where they used every ultimate they had, and then the one right before all 3 points were capped. So it's interesting to think the time bank's as low as 130 when that really just felt like Obey Alliance all day.
Yeah, exactly. It really did, and I mean that just kind of goes to show what they were doing, what Malice was doing, I should say, on the very back end, doing a really good job of holding on with what they had.
Yeah, absolutely. Now we're going to be seeing a little bit of the chance to go tree on the Tracer, maybe trying to find a lot of value early on. Got that Echo Mercy, that winged fight coming through once again, and I'm curious to see which rotation they're going to choose. Having Akash on that Wrecking Ball, I'm not necessarily a fan of. I don't think it got a lot of great value on that defense, and hopefully they can find more on the offense, but instead, Buck able to find Stream with those stickies, going to be able to take that Tracer right offline. That's going to be a bit of a disaster for Malice, already half a minute off the clock.
Well, the good news for Akash is that it's not as key for this Wrecking Ball. All you need to do is have one engagement. You don't necessarily have to be the sole disrupting tool like you were on the defense, which is positive. But it is going to be difficult still against the likes of Tensa and Petal, who have those key stunning tools in the Flashbang and the Shield Bash.
Yeah, I mean, the Flashbang, the Shield Bash, the Orisa Pull, the Accretion, there's quite a few ways Akash could get caught out here, but instead, he's going to be able to find Talk. Petal will find that trade line right away. A full tick is going to come through as well. Akash will fall, but I mean, falling for a tick, that feels pretty reasonable to be. A second one might be sniped out from under their noses if they're not careful, but no, just barely not able to be. Oh, just kidding! 69% on the point here, coming through, just barely able to make it over that second tick. Will find Tensa as well. I mean, Malice, they're doing it in quite an unusual manner, but I mean, if it's working, better. I mean, more power to them. They get 2 ticks in about 2 minutes coming through. Hopefully they're able to find that third one as well.
I mean, listen, sure, it doesn't look pretty, but I guess if you're getting that big value over the course of time, like, the ticks are what matters. That's what wins the point, so fair enough.
Yeah, if it ain't broke, you know, it might be a little, like you said, it might not be pretty, but if it works, it works. And now, Sai getting a little bit personal here, swapping out them a free, quite an unusual choice, going to get caught out of the corner. Does not get to utilize that transformation in the slightest, but looks like the rest of Malice is going to be able to pick up that slack here. Now he will find Cakefish. Sai picks up Paintbrush, and one by one, Obey Alliance will fall once again. 2 minutes turns into 4.5, and Malice have finally got these wheels moving.
Yeah, and a crucial positioning error there from Joe, getting knocked down and unfortunately caught out off the back of that as well. Though Petal, oh my goodness, Petal. We talked about, you know, the DPS and how I was talking about how I felt like Petal and Buck maybe a little bit behind in this. Not this map at all. I mean, Petal in particular putting on a phenomenal showing at the moment, really putting Sai in check, and on top of that, making Tree's life quite hard.
Yeah, wholehearted agree. I mean, we just see a lot of great value coming out. Petal video Flashback is going to miss. They may regret that, but the Rabbinic clutch from Central Crowley coming in quick. Not able to find any eliminations, but a whole lot of damage. And the Pulse Bomb picks up 1-4. Joe will fall to Crowley, and Tree comes through with the melee kill on to Petal. Looks like a completed total team kill just about. There it is. There she is, team kill coming through, and like I said earlier, you either get full held on the streets phase or you hardly see it, and it looks like Malice might be able to burn through it.
I'm not too sure what just happened to Sluggo's Transcendence, but I'm thinking you're going to want that one back, whatever happened. Regardless, though, I like the engagement. That was so perfect off the back of Akash's just slam. It made perfect sense, and they got big value off the back of it. But now there's enough time to re-engage, and the supercharger that Joe has is going to make life pretty hard.
It's going to make life pretty hard for Joe. Just solo commits the supercharger himself there. A bit of a confusing play. Drops to the low ground. Pops supercharger. There's nobody else to catch it. And now Sai just ripping the team apart. Able to find Petal and Cakefish straight away. That laser coming through might be able to just barely able to find Joe with the help of Akash. The window from Paintbrush. Talking to ultimates, you're going to want back. That is certainly one of them.
I mean, listen, I love the position. It's nice and cheeky. I like that, but yeah, I don't think that's going to be an ideal scenario to use that. Same with Joe's supercharger. I really thought that the rest of the team would have come in with him, maybe utilize the rally in order to keep everyone healthy, but no, it was like you said, a kind of a solo investment, and seemed like a bit of a miscommunication. So whatever happened, it's kind of netted Malice big advantage into this fight. Now they're taking advantage of that.
Yeah, taking advantage of that indeed here. Rally and Rabbinic Flux. Krawi is going to be the first one to fall. With a great turnaround for Malice did not see Sakashi in the back line once again. Speaking of Rabbinic Flux, here comes another one. Able to pick up Pedal. They've got to find one more to really make it count, and they do just that. Paintbrush will fall. Tensa is going to be able to find three in the mix up. Sidebind's getting Fisher one by one once again. Obey Alliance will fall. This is looking really good for Malice.
I mean, yeah, this is brilliant for Malice. They not only lost the opening pick, but that's all of the ultimates that were online for Obey Alliance. They don't have anything to contend with this last and final push, and there's 2 minutes of advantage right now for Malice in this fight.
Yeah, this is going to be a really good turnaround. I mean, realistically, Malice, if they win this fight, they can finish with almost double the time that Obey Alliance had on the clock. And realistically, it looks like they're not going to be able to do that, as this has turned into a full-fledged fight coming through. Now it's going to come down to who finds that first kill. And it's going to be Sai on the Echo, making all the difference. Buck will fall right after Take Fish. 2 minutes and 45 seconds left on the clock here. Things are looking phenomenal for Malice, but they've got to get these kills quick, because that spawn is right there, and nobody touches just like that. Tensa and Joe going to get ripped away from the point. 2:38 left on the clock here for Malice.
Yeah, and Akash, I mean, we talked about Akash having a really rough start to this map, but doing a wonderful job there in the later stages. Had 4 kills in that final fight, by the way. Really made it impossible for the opposing side to touch the point in the slightest. So Obey Alliance, they fall off, and it's about a minute advantage for this Malice side. Now, what is the answer to the push that we saw come through for Malice? Honestly, I don't know. I felt like compositionally Obey Alliance had the right ideas. They just weren't quite able to put them into the right positions. For example, whenever it came down to that ball, yeah, there was the right tools, but if Pedal gets caught out by the likes of Tree or Sai on that Echo, it's probably not going to be all that ideal, especially as starting out on the defense here. I don't know that Malice, I mean, they seem to be sticking with the same composition. It might be, I don't know. This seems like maybe a questionable decision from them, considering how poor it went the first time.
Questionable is certainly a good word. I'm going to say that same thing there. I think Akash on the Wrecking Ball it's a risk. It is a seriously large risk, because it did not work at all on that initial offense. When you're in the extra rounds like this, every second is crucial. And if Obey Alliance comes through and burns first point in 30 seconds again, I mean, that is best case scenario for them. So Akash, really going to have to step up this Wrecking Ball.
That they will. But, I mean, listen, the good news is it's only a minute and 13 seconds now to find. So it's really not a big deal if it's, not going to work, the longest term. It just has to work for a while.
Yeah, absolutely. It's got to work for realistically one good fight. You get this fight, you get a panic push immediately after this one. Sai already finding Joe. There's no mercy online. Arisa may have 4 legs, but she is not a quick mover, so she is going to be gone for about 20 seconds, and that's realistically about half the time you've got left here.
Yeah, she's going to have to gallop her way back into the fight, and like you said, not the quickest of movers, which does allow for a lot of time to be just burned away. Now, granted,
that means to wait.
Yeah, no ultimate charge being gained either, in fairness, but the setup right now from Malice is quite solid, so as long as they're able to farm in some shots here, it's going to be good.
Absolutely. That dynamite looks like it's going to be absolutely massive, and it certainly is. Able to find both of the tanks early on. Akash taking a lot of damage, barely able to make it out, but Angelic will fall. Tree gets the Vengeance kill, 38 health, and a massive swap, but Paintbrush with the turnaround shot takes that Echo offline before the transformation can come through. Petal does find Sluggo another rotation out of the point, using that card for the primary cover. They know somebody's up on that high ground. They're going to set up accordingly. And Obey Alliance looking quite good to find this cap a little bit before overtime kicks in.
I mean, there might be a re-engage. It looks like they're setting up for it, but the ball coming in through in the back line, it's going to be a tough one, and no touch, no problem.
Oh, Akash. Oh, that was rough. Sai's going to be taken out as well, and all that's going to do is stagger the both of them into oblivion. That's going to push them all the way back into that furthest spawn, and things are looking good for Obey Alliance. All they've got to do is not let go of this card.
No, I mean, now, granted, easier said than done, I will say, but, realistically, though, they've pretty much gotten best case scenario. You cap point 1. Anything else is really extra. Off the back of this, OB Alliance putting themselves in strong position. They also have some ultimates to work with, and if Tensa gets up this rally, I mean, that is a big value ult to pull out here in the late stages.
Yeah, absolutely, Rally. Like you said, big value indeed. Buck waiting around the corner, going to be able to try and find a little bit of damage on the tree, but not quite the elimination. Angelic going to get left behind and will be taken out by that high noon. 2 ultimates already committed from Obey Alliance, but if they win the fight, it hardly matters. Size Bob will be taken out, and that's going to be a massive Gravitic Flux coming through. A triple kill from Tree, able to find a lot of damage, and that may have been just enough to stop Obey Alliance here in their tracks. Buck gets a little bit overzealous for that kill on Psy, and let's go with the cart. And, I mean, to be fair, couldn't have done much even if he did stay on the cart. But Obey Alliance, they are going to get installed in that Streets phase, and now Malice knows just how far they have to make it.
That they do, and if you recall back to this push from Malice, it was, I mean, not horrible, but it was a bit, you know, staggered, maybe the right terminology for it, because they were able to get like the tick 1 and then tick 2 a little bit later, and then it was just a really solid engagement off the back of mispositioning from their opponents to get that tick number 3. If that doesn't happen from Obey Alliance this time out, then honestly, this might be a full hold at point number 1. It's been hit or miss, I would say, the engagement tools, but like I said before, when you're on the offense, the engages, they don't have to be nearly as clean as when they're on the defense, and it's a lot easier to set up for them, right? Akash, a lot less pressure on that main tank to engage, and it makes it a bit easier for everyone, realistically, as we get down to it. It's going to be much the same defensively for Obey Alliance, as they seem to be very much committed to this composition, and in fairness, it's worked relatively well for them. Same thing though for the offense of Malice. They're committed to what they're working with. Though Tree on the Symmetra just for a moment to get the teleporter in, and that's going to be a quick swap onto the Tracer once again.
Yeah, I think that teleporter is actually going to be really crucial because it buys them, you know, that 10-15 seconds it takes to walk from spawn. And that realistically at the end of the day could make or break a scenario for them. And now Akash is going to be in that back line very early on. He's actually, I'm not sure they remember he's back there. He's going to immediately push in. The rest of his team going to be following from the opposite side. And Akash, just kidding. They know he's there. Oh, Tree taken out by Buck early on. That Tracer falls. And they've got the Mercy, but something tells me a Tracer's not going to fall in the most resable position, so to speak. Going to almost find a tick here on the side of Malice, but unfortunately going to get stopped in their tracks before really any value can be found.
Yeah, I mean, just a good job finding that Tracer player. And like you said before, with Joe and the Orisa, you're just going to have to wait a little bit, though. Right. Tracer, a bit quicker, is going to allow for the re-engagement to come in a bit sooner than before.
Yeah, most certainly that Tracer is going to come through, and they have more time on the bank. I think we're just now getting in the area that we saw Obey Alliance start with, so we're going to see a lot more value from Obey Alliance, or excuse me, for Malice, but Obey Alliance is going to lose Buck early on, and like you said, my friend, big indeed. Probably will find that Echo, take her offline, and now they're really just maybe one more elimination away from taking the point. They get one take, looks like they're going to be able to find a second, not quite for free, but pretty darn too close. There goes the Mortality Field, there goes the rest of Obey Alliance. Psy will fall, but I think the damage has been done. They simply cannot stay alive, and Malice has done it once again. It looks like they are going to look for that second point cap. Sigma tries his darndest, but Tree is going to get up close and personal, find that kill. 67 seconds left on the clock. Malice, they're looking good, but this is certainly still winnable for Obey Alliance.
That it is. Worst case scenario, though, is that they didn't have to use, they being Malice, didn't have to use any ultimates, really, other than Angelic on the Valkyrie. So now you're going to have a defensive ult in Sluggo available. That's going to absolutely open things up. And with the forward positioning, you could have Tree, Pulse Bomb, someone. I mean, really, anyone is big here. If you somehow find Tensa, that would be incredible. But
that's, yeah.
I mean, realistically, Petal or Buck going down to a Pulse Bomb would be incredible stuff. Not to mention the duplicate online, and Crawley has a Gravitic Flux. So many tools in the toolkit. Obey Alliance, this is their fight to lose.
Yeah, absolutely. Now, Crowley going to go for that Gravitic Flux early on. I'm going to suspect Psy to do the very same thing. Going to swap onto that Sigma, maybe force a Sig 9 here. All they need to do is get around this second corner. We see almost Tree taken offline. That Pulse Bomb still alive. And instead, it looks like Transcendence from Sluggo has to be forced out early on. Psy does swap onto that Sigma, so I'm right so far. And here goes the Pulse Bomb. There goes Tensa. We talked about it. The crucial elimination that Malice needed to win this one. Supercharger gone. The horse has been sent to the glue factory. And here's that Gravitic Flux. The Sig 9. I called every single second of that one. Malice, they're going to take that fight. They're going to take Numani, and they're going to take their second point of the series.
Absolutely did. I mean, listen, to be fair, we were talking about Tensa, like, yeah, it would be great if we could somehow find a Tensa opening, and not only did that, but the Sigma 9 at the very end. What an incredible performance right there from Malice. They do the perfect job with the additional time bank that they had. And let's just talk adjustments, right? Because that's what it was. Malice making that adjustment very, very late, I have to say, in the when it came down to their first defense. It was not ideal. They got caught out with their composition initially. They had to adjust it into the double shield and ended up holding well enough. Not only that, but gaining the advantage on their attack, then fixing the problems and going with that same hold that we saw in the first place. Absolutely wonderful. So Malice, they are prepped and ready to take this 3-0 victory, as it is 2-0 right now. Obey Alliance backs against the wall right now. I mean, listen, I said it's been a lot of 3-2s for both of these teams, but it might not be on the cards this time out. So.
Yeah, no, it certainly may not. Like you said, Malice there looking realistically very good to take this 3-0 victory, but now Obey Alliance, they've got one more grade. Maybe discuss what could have gone better for them. Maybe discuss a couple of slots coming into our next map, which I don't know yet, so I'll find out with you guys in just a couple of minutes. But we'll see you in a few minutes. Everybody take this time, use the restroom, go refill your water bottles, do what you gotta do. We'll see you right back here in a few. What is going on, everybody? And welcome back. Still Septilence and Vincent here to bring you just a little bit more action here between Malice and Obey Alliance. And we do have a second game going after this one, but we've got to get through this one first. And moving into Junkertown, Vincent, what can Obey Alliance do here? They're going to start on the offense. What do you think is their best course of action?
I mean, it's so hard to kind of like guesstimate what they need to adjust, because I don't think that they're just making more errors in general than Malice are. And it's not like it's any one person making huge errors, because they're not.
Collection of small ones.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah. And not to mention, I think Malice are making in individual plays that Obey Alliance simply are not. So it's hard when you ask me, like analytically, what needs to happen from a macro perspective, because I actually think that it's just play a little bit better, Forehead. Like, I know that's great analysis there, Zach. Like, but at the same time, Obey Alliance, they're just not quite hitting that stride that Malice are. And then when it comes down to those big moments, it's Malice that are making the plays, not Obey Alliance.
Yeah, I agree. I think we're seeing very similar value coming through with what you just said. I think it's going to be actually, so excuse us, a little bit of an error there. It's actually going to be Dorado is the next map, not Junkertown. That's on us. We got a little bit of the wrong information there. But either way, I agree. The map isn't really the problem, right? I feel that it's kind of these mild mistakes coming through on both sides. And Obey Alliance, I agree. We've just seen these small errors. It's not, oh, one person keeps messing up. It's every fight. There's like, I always use, they're fighting at 90%. They're this close to being at that perfect, but it's always one small mistake every time, and that just kind of keeps knocking their feet out from under them.
Well, and in addition to that, I don't even think it's not even as if it's like solely errors that Obey Alliance are making. It's forced errors from Malice. I mean, Akash doing a great job there. I feel like both of us were both very critical and very positive about the ball from Akash. But that's what you get when you have Akash. You have that potential for huge engagement tools, and there was so many times where I feel like Malice just kind of won the fight off the back of a solid engage where 3 players are just straight up in the air, half health off the back of just Akash doing Akash things. But at the same time, Akash displacing Joe so often on that defensive setup and back on Nubani, it felt like unfortunately it was inevitable that Joe would be out of position, and it wasn't Joe's fault. Like, Joe was just trying to live here as a horse, and Malice is like, no, that's not allowed. You can't do that.
Yeah, no, that's kind of exactly what happened. I think perhaps, I won't speak for the both of us, but I think at least I was a little bit quick to jump on Akash's back there. And I think on that initial defense where they had the wrecking ball and they kind of got rolled, no pun intended, I was like, the wrecking ball's really not working out. But I think maybe Akash just hadn't been warmed up, because a lot of the fights that Malice did win was off of the back of a pile drive into Gravitic Flux. We saw that combo a lot, and I mean, it worked every time. So, like I said, perhaps I was a little bit too fast on Akash there, but I think the wrecking ball didn't really work out on Nubani. I don't think it's going to work out on Dorado, so maybe they're going to have to bring out a different tank line here.
Well, I mean, I think there's a possibility it works out well on Dorado, particularly on the attack, obviously.
Yes, of course.
The only thing is, and I think that's where both of you and I were a little bit more critical, was on the defense. I think that's where it's a little bit harder to make that ball work at every single point of the engagement, because you have to basically just be on point all the time if you're Akash. But in fairness, Akash has been pretty on point most of the time, so I don't know if it's an unfair question to ask as we move in toward map number 3 of what could be the final map of this series. That is, if Malice are able to take this one, they move up to that 2-3 record, whilst Obey Alliance would stay undefeated. At this point, it's going to have to be the reverse sweep for Obey Alliance to come back in to take a maiden victory.
Yeah, and this is interesting to say the least. We're seeing a couple of differences coming through. I did misspeak again, a little bit of wrong information there. Malice is starting on the offense, and he's starting with not only a Pharmacy but a Widow as well. My best guess, we're gonna see what I always call the King's Row Widow, where you go for a kill early on, you're like, that didn't work, and you just go back in and swap. So that's kind of what I'd expect to see. But I want to take a point and look at Malice's tanks. The Sigma Zarya, I can only assume that's gonna be changed. Okay, yeah, I was gonna say that.
Yeah.
No, what is going? Never mind. Scratch everything I just said.
We're being baited. Let me talk for a moment about the Alliance. They're adjusting, and their adjustment is no longer to be on this double shield. It's going to be an Ana for Paintbrush, and Paintbrush is very good on this Ana, might I add, but nearly gave away an opening pick there to Tree, so it's a little bit scary as we see the composition locked down here for Malice. Once again, ball in Sigma.
Great slam. Oh, into the accretion. Great combo coming through. Krami and Akash doing a great job, and Akash just doing Akash things here on the high ground, able to get a lot of damage. Already 40% of that minefield as well. I mean, one of the highest ult charges in the game for the time being.
Yeah, super well done there by Akash. And I mean, like you said, the coordination from Crawley on the accretion and everything. Oh, so beautiful. But regardless, Paintbrush already going to have a nano boost online, so be on the lookout for that on the back of Joe.
Yeah, I couldn't have said it better. Back of the Joe, that nano's probably going to be coming through, and they probably won't even need it for this fight. His side is taken out early on, and as I said, they will commit that nano. Whether they needed to or not, it's certainly going to work out in their favor. Able to find a triple kill off the back, making a quad kill. Joe with a double melee coming through. Akashi is going to go for that tactical reset, so to speak. Maybe caught out in the back line, and already a minute off the clock.
Yeah, nicely done. Very well for Obey Alliance, but I'm okay with that nano boost. It just kind of helps Joe build up this primal rage a little bit quicker, so that's perfectly okay. But what I'm a bit more worried about is the lack of ult charge coming through here on the DPS line for Malice. I mean, yeah, Tree's coming up close, but Psy's far behind.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Tree's coming up close because Tracer has the fastest charging ultimate in the game. I think any other DPS, they wouldn't be quite as locked in like that. And I think the Pulse Bomb, we've seen Tree very hit or miss with these. I would consider it the very reason they were able to take Numbani, that Pulse Bomb onto Tensa, but Tree's going to have to land that again, and now with a D.Va rolling around, landing Pulse Bomb just got a lot harder.
Yeah, well, Crawley now onto that D.Va, like I think you're alluding to. I mean, maybe going to make this a little bit difficult. No Sigma online anymore.
Oh, yeah, no Sigma online, so no shield on the side. Well, now there is on the side of Malice, but the damage has already been done. They lose Angelic early on, who's stuck on that Brig, and Joe trying to farm some damage. That nano boost coming through once again, right into a primal rage, and Psy just gets to live for free here, able to take out both supports. We're going to see the D.Va fall as well, and Psy just doing all the damage possible there on that Winston, even out of it, able to find Cavefish as well. That's a 5K. We are one short of Psy looking for a full-blown team kill.
That said, I mean, yes, Psy gets the kills, but it's actually Sluggo, want to give credit where it's due, who actually makes that fight possible, uses that defensive ultimate, big value out of it, and denies the aggression that Joe and Paintbrush were putting online, and it makes things quite difficult to re-engage on if you're OB Alliance. So really a good decision made by Sluggo, and in a fight that, you could have argued, was that really necessary? Should you have invested?
Right.
Well, I mean, the way that it went speaks for itself, right? Like,
of course,
whenever you come out victorious like that, it's like, yeah, well, that worked out well.
Yeah, absolutely. And Psy is doing this phenomenal job of just pressuring down or even eliminating Buck. And then when Buck falls, nobody to really contest Psy in the sky. So it's definitely a fascinating combination coming through. Now that's going to force a bomb super early from Cavefish. Not going to find a darn tooth thing there. Psy able to get 60% online of that transformation. And I've said that name a lot already, but Psy has absolutely turned into my player to watch out for right now. The bomb from Crowley going to be able to find Paintbrush. What a crucial elimination. Tensa, the next to fall in the support line, gone once again for Obey Alliance.
Yeah, I mean, and talking of support lines, it's Angelic and Sluggo, who both have found crucial points of impact thus far in the map. I talked Sluggo earlier on, but it's Angelic that forces out that self-destruct off the back of Shield Bash, really doing a wonderful job. So like I was talking about in the pregame, not just the DPS diff here, but the support line for Malice simply stepping up in a big way as Sluggo approaching yet another one of those high-value transcendences, as well as the fact that you're going to have that rally online. So as long as Tree's going to stick somebody, plus the rally, this is looking good.
Oh, the high noon, yeah, like you said, looking good indeed. And the high noon from Buck looked good for a moment, but got taken out immediately after. And honestly, Angelic, mad kudos for swapping from a Brig or from a Mercy playstyle to a Brigida playstyle. Two very different ways to play a game. And the eat from Crowley, I mean, we talked about it at the beginning. Pulse Bomb gonna get taken offline, so much harder to land one, and Crowley proving just that. That hungry D.Va getting a little bit of a lunch there before they cap second point.
Yeah, and oh, look at these spawns. It's so devastating, Septilence.
It's just a massacre. It really is.
It's not fair. It's
not fair in the slides. Malice, like, this is Helios all over again. This is the Malice we saw earlier.
Yeah, I mean, domination right now here. And I mean, that engagement from Akash is simply terrifying.
I didn't even know you could go up there. That's news to me. I had no idea you could do that. But Akash getting to show off a little bit of that Wrecking Ball tech, that Wrecking Ball knowledge. That would have been one heck of a pile drive, and he timed it a little earlier. But Joe coming out on a different tank, coming out on that Winston, going to be nanoed, forces Transcendence from Sluggo. That's kind of huge here for Obey Alliance, but Psy pushing up close and personal, just wreaking absolute havoc in the back line. The biggest issue for Malice, though, nobody's on the cart. They're winning the fight, but at what cost? Tree will fall, and the cart has not moved an inch. Akash going to be taken out by Buck on this McCree as well. I'm not a huge fan of that push. The cart did not move even an inch.
Yeah, I mean, listen, I don't think the push is a problem. Is obviously Cakefish has swapped to the Zarya in order to facilitate the double bubble composition.
Right.
Well, especially with the short range, I think it makes a lot more sense. The Zarya obviously has a much higher DPS potential output, but beyond that, both of those support ultimates being used in that fight is the biggest problem for Obey Alliance, because now, if you look at what they're going to run into, both of these tanks are going to have their ultimates online. Angelic awful close to pulling up yet another of these rallies. And on top of that, Tree has a pulse bomb to stick to somebody as well. So I think that realistically, those two support ultimates engaged at the same time are going to be maybe problematic for Obey Alliance as they move forward.
Yeah, absolutely. Obey Alliance is going to be running into, like you said, a couple of struggles here moving forward. But I'm curious to see. Here comes that bomb from Crowley. Could be huge, but Immortality, or excuse me, not Immortality Field, some great zoning there. He's going to be able to get a lot done. And the Minefield, going to be able to find two with the help of Psy there. Buck falls as well. So, again, Malice, I really like what I'm going to refer to as the unusual play style they constantly bring out. We saw it when they were capping on Numbani. We saw it there with their choice to engage on the high ground like that. Like, it's definitely unusual, and that might be why they're so strong. Because nobody's really ready for it.
Well, they barely got the contest. Petal actually had a nice pulse bomb, and so that's going to maybe turn the fight, and indeed it has. Petal with 2.
Yeah, the pulse bomb coming through. Like you said, Petal's going to be able to find Psy as well. He's kind of locked onto that McCree. Cakefish picks up Sluggo. Tree finds 3, I believe, and just barely is going to be taken out by Petal, though. Tracer can only do so much. 60 seconds left on the clock here from Malice. Obey Alliance, they've got almost 5 ultimates moving into this next fight. Malice, they're looking at maybe 3. The
key here is Paintbrush. Huge, big value. You need this biotic grenade to be on point, because Cakefish has the ultimate there for the Zarya. The Graviton Surge is ready, but Sluggo also has a Transcendence. You have to make sure that you hit a biotic grenade and you miss the defense matrix that Krawi has available.
Yeah, the defense matrix could be huge here as well, because Cakefish with the grab. I mean, depending on how hungry Krawi's really feeling, 2 ultimates would be a great turnaround for the team. Yeah, looks for those old fires trying to bait out that defense matrix, but instead, not going to be able to do so quite yet. Akash in the back line. Another Transcendence going to be forced out. There's a rally. There's a Nano. There's another rally. 4 support ultimates coming out all at once, and Buck is going to be able to find Psy. Cakefish falls. Angelic not far behind, 2.3 meters away, and Buck going to miss that crucial shot onto Tree. The Tracer gets to live another day, but Akash may not get to say the same. Buck won't be able to find that kill. Picks up Akash as well, and just like that, Malice not quite able to cap all 3 points of Dorado.
And once again, an early investment of the Transcendence Septilance. Sluggo using that a bit too early, not waiting for the Graviton Surge, and that allows for the entirety to be opened up, that Graviton Surge. I mean, plus, in fairness, the big value caught off the back of it was the Deadeye coming through from the McCree, but regardless of that fact, you have to hold on to that a little bit longer, I think, especially as when it came through, it was just a Winston that was being dealt with in the Primal Rage form. So unfortunate, but a bit of a mistake, I think, there at the very end for Malice, despite really solid engagements throughout the entirety of first and second point. Once the Zarya got online and just started making, getting big value for Obey Alliance, that was where I think that, honestly, Malice just didn't have an answer.
Yeah, I certainly agree. I think Malice struggled with a couple of unique opportunities there, and I feel, again, when they had opportunities to push the cart and they weren't, I really think that ended up costing them that 3rd cap, but unfortunately that is not something they can really go back and fix. That is something they're going to have to live with, and now I'm curious to see if the damage is going to be done all the same by Obey Alliance's offense. I feel they were just barely able to scrape out the defensive hold for that 3rd point cap, and right now their offense looking good on that first corner.
That it is, and it pushing, everyone back a little bit, making the space necessary is a great way to start. That said, the real engagement comes quite soon whenever the ball comes in from Akash.
Yeah, Akash waiting, kind of playing that patient game, waiting for an opportunity to strike, not getting overzealous or overcommitting too early, but taking a lot of damage in the process, just being chased into oblivion by Petal there, who's going to be reclaiming this high ground for Obey Alliance. They're going to get under the bridge, seemingly for free.
Yeah, I mean, it seems like a bit of non-commitment right now from Malice. They don't want to get too far forward, and, well, in fairness, that's now netted them some space, because you get under that bridge, and that's where things get a bit dicey. But Buck, opening pick, this is where you start out, and this is what's looking great.
Yeah, absolutely, and here comes that Nano onto Joe once again from Paintbrush. Some great value early on. That Nano just constantly making so much space. I love to see it coming through because we've yet to see Joe really pop off with the nano, so to speak, but the space made every time is nothing short of very, very impressive. It's super helpful for Obey Alliance. This is Winston, I feel, making a huge difference.
Yeah, I mean, Joe undeniably is having massive impacts, and Cakefish as well. Big pick on the side.
Yeah, absolutely. Gonna be able to find a great pick on the side. Tree gone as well. The DPS from Malice completely taken offline, and that spin to win only works for so long. Akash taken out as well. Sluggo falls, and just like that, first point being given to Obey Alliance. Just under 5 minutes left.
Yeah, lots of time on that time bank like you're talking about. And beyond that, I mean, it's been some ults that are farmed up here. You're going to have both the tank ults available as well as the duplicate on the Malice side of things. But realistically, I feel like this has kind of been the problem. Their engagement's not been on point, but maybe scratch that.
Yeah, absolutely. Maybe scratch that indeed as we see them finally coming to life here. Malice going to be able to find a quad kill with the cart. Moving every second of that time. The spawn, of course, going to be in favor of Obey Alliance with where the cart currently stands. So now we see Malice. They've got a couple of ultimates to use here, but I wonder if Obey Alliance is going to be able to commit a couple of their own. That Nano just about back online.
Yeah, with both support ultimates coming online, I think that's a big thing. And again, I've said it multiple times, but Sluggo, like using a Transcendence there when you're committing your ultimates,
yeah.
like it's just so over the top. I think being a bit too safe with it.
Yeah, swapping on the Zarya here. Going to be a fascinating choice for the grab. I mean, could be absolutely massive. We see that Minefield coming outside. Not getting the opportunity to pop that grab anytime soon. The transformation kind of down the drain. Buck going to be able to zone around this first corner with that high noon, but I feel like Obey Alliance maybe getting a little bit overzealous there. The rally, the high noon. Buck is going to be able to find trees, so just as I say it looks like things may be working out well for him. Krawi, the next to fall. Sluggo is gone, and the grab coming out a little late from Cakefish, but better late than never if it wins you the fight.
Well, I mean, I don't mind that grab because Jalik actually used the rally. So,
oh, you're right.
Yeah,
I mean, hear it.
Yeah, exactly. And not to mention Akasha investing heavily in addition to that. So with now Crawley swapping over onto the Diva, I think that Rav makes perfectly reasonable sense in order to, I mean, it's just a trade 1-for-1. Is now Joe able to use the Primal and make this life miserable for anyone trying to engage on the right side here.
Yeah, I'm surprised Joe didn't go for the environmental kill on the Zenyatta there. Instead, he dove away. I'm curious as to why he would have done that, but he will fall taken out by Crowley there. Tree taken out by Petal, so for the time being, Obey Alliance, they've got that numbers advantage, but they hardly need it as nobody from Malice is going to live long enough to touch points. 4 minutes and 15 seconds left. There's a world where they roll through this again, but with a massive defender spawn here, spawn advantage rather. I think Malice is a good opportunity to put another fight in their back pocket.
Yeah, I mean, they absolutely do. No doubt about it. They've got the 2 DPS ultimates online. Sai, of course, swapping over to the Torbjorn, and I have to imagine it's to try and put a bit of a check on Petal, who's been absolutely magical in this map thus far, particularly on this attack side. 3-4 kills every single fight, it seems, from Petal, regardless of what's happening.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, Petal has done a phenomenal job, seemingly across the board here. Like you said, just some great value all the way there. And now we see we're looking at 3 minutes and 35 seconds left on the clock for Obey Alliance. They're just absolutely rolling here through Dorado. We see that nano boost now online. It's going to be massive. I suspect to see it onto Joe once again. But Sluggo, once again, holding on to that Transcendence. And again, his Transcendences, they have been rather odd.
Oh, a nice attempt at engagement right there by the ball, but it gets punished. And this is all going downhill fast.
Yeah, downhill fast indeed. Tree is gone, Sai is gone, Angelic is gone. Can somebody say reverse sweep? Because we very well may be looking at the start of one. We see Obey Alliance rolling into the very end of Dorado, capping all 3 points and looking darn tootin' good while doing it. That was a message sent to Malice. That was a strong look from Obey Alliance.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, Petal picking up a play of the game, by the way, as well as the fact that Petal playing outrageously strong. I mean, so well done, I think, over the course of that map, really taking a statement. I don't know if Petal tuned in to the broadcast and talked about how we saw Tree and Sai both playing incredibly well and was like, listen, no, that's not how this works. I'm going to rewrite history, but has done a great job of doing just that. I mean, let me tell you, really, really solid stuff. I mean, what can I say? Those we talked about during the break, it's those small moments, the big clutch factors, everything. Yeah. Just whenever there's a chance for someone to pop off, it's Malice doing it. Petal took the reins and was the difference maker in map number 3.
Yeah, no doubt. I mean, I guess you could say he put the pedal to the metal because I mean, to be fair, it's not the right type of pedal. Whatever, the joke's still funny. Either way, I completely agree. He did a phenomenal job there, able to really just push into Tree inside that entire time. He was so aggressive, constantly living in the back line. I mean, Pedal did so well that Obey Alliance is actually swapping Sai out of the fight, bringing in Foreshadow, who we have not had the pleasure of seeing play yet.
Yeah, I mean, to be fair, Foreshadow is actually on the starting roster, supposedly, at least from what we're seeing. So, first time coming in here as map number 4. So, interesting, to say the least. But the fact that it was on starting roster and they maybe just made some decisions late into the day shows that Foreshadow definitely going to have the chops to make these adjustments. And on top of that, I really think that Malice is now the ones who have to kind of take an internal look at what went wrong right there. I mean, I hate to say it, I hate to be that guy, but I really feel like the engagements from the support line there, Sluggo in particular, I really think the transcendences were quite mistimed.
They were, yeah.
There was like 3 or 4 times that they were a bit early and or unnecessary. As we take a look at our maps that have been played, we head over to Volskaya Industries next, and of course it is loser's pick, so that means it's Malice to pick this one out. But I have to see Sluggo make improvements here, Stepful. That's going to be my big ticket item, not to mention what can Foreshadow show us.
Yeah, I mean, like I said, I've personally never seen Foreshadow before, so I'm very curious to see how strong or how aggressive they're able to come out through this. But Sluggo, I couldn't agree more with you, Vincent. I really think these transcendences have been unusual, to say the least. And like you said, I hope you brought your jackets, folks, as we are jumping into the very cold Volskaya Industries here. And I'm very interested to see that these players get to choose which map we play, and they still chose 2CP. So that is not exactly the greatest thing to hear. But we're going to see Foreshadow going to be on the Ash, so perhaps a hit scan player, but plenty of time for that to change. I'm very excited to see, are we going to get a full-blown coveted map 5 on our hands that these players seem to love, or will this be a 3-1 victory at the end of the day?
Well, I mean, it's hard to say, but what I can say for sure is that if we look at the adjustment right now, it's an interesting pick here from the defense of Malice. They are looking to go for this more traditional. I say traditional. It's not actually traditional with the ball, but you get my point. The Diva plus the ball coming through, and of course, kind of similar to what they've been running on that support line. But it's Foreshadow going to be on the Ash. So no McCree out here. No flying characters for that matter as well. So a bit of a difference, but on the other side, it's just a double bubble. This Zarya worked well. Why change it?
Yeah, absolutely. If it ain't broke, don't fix it. That double bubble worked out very well on that Dorado offense, and I'm curious to see how well it's going to work out here. Already able to break through the choke. That is very good for Obey Alliance. Malice, they're going to give up that choke kind of for free, maybe try to find an elimination thereafter, but Obey Alliance moving into point would be pretty much exactly what they should do here. It looks like they're going to be able to play it slow, rotate around a little bit, get a little bit of recon here and there, trying to figure out who is going to be their #1 threat. And I love how close Obey Alliance is sticking together. They're really staying within that brig range 100% of the time.
Yeah, I mean, and they kind of have to. That's kind of what their composition is about. But the key here is, where is the engagement tool? Akash needs to find some place to engage off the back of this. And, well, I guess it's not necessarily Akash if Tree just finds an opening onto the main tank.
Yeah, Tree going to be able to take Joe out, just looking absolutely cracked here moving into this very early on. I feel Tree has made a rather intense difference here for Malice. I think he's had a couple of great moments to shine, and maybe not the most consistent gameplay, but when he is at his best, it is his very best indeed. Now over a minute off the clock, and Obey Alliance, I mean, have they even touched point?
Not yet, and here's even bigger. Foreshadow gonna have that Bob online, and so the point is certainly gonna be contestable by that 7th man if necessary. That was nearly deadly. It was
just barely found the hitbox there of that Zarya, but that would have been quite the kill. And fun fact about this Volskaya first point, it is one of the very few cappable points in the game where you can throw Bob from any angle and he will never hit an item and stand on point. If he hits a wall, he will always stand just outside of the point. So now we see Bob standing here, is going to be rushing into the point. We see that he's just not standing on it technically. He's standing immediately behind it. Akash does commit that minefield as well, and we see a Valkyrie. So we see a lot of ultimates here from Malice. They are desperate to find that win here.
Yeah, indeed. I mean, attempts being made, yes, but, oh, what a stick. Tree doing Tree things.
What did I say? When he is at his best, he is at his best indeed. Looking good. And Foreshadow, so confident he was going to hit that headshot. He went for the melee right after, but was not able to find either. Just barely Pedal able to make it out with his life. And Tensa,
what?
Rallying.
Why?
We talked about weird ultimates from Sluggo. Intensa said you want to see a really weird ultimate and popped Rally there at the end of a lost fight. That was certainly a fascinating choice.
I'm going to go with Fat Finger. I don't think that was intentional. And if it was, listen, these guys are bigger brain than me. Maybe they can explain what the thought process was. But we are seeing adjustments. Here, Cakefish and Joe, they decided, well, okay, the dive not working so well, so let's go the double hit scan route with the more, I guess you could call it more brawly, even though it's not really, the Sigma and the ball comp. It does allow for a little bit less, well, a little bit more of an attempt at the slow, more methodical style, and maybe, just maybe, the adjustment here for Tensa was that they were going to swap onto the Mercy anyway. That totally could be the definition. Yeah. That makes a lot more sense now.
Oh! Mercy just... There's nobody to bring her back to life. She's going to get sent back to spawn straight away. Tree with that backline melee, farming another pulse bomb, just about ready to have it online. And we see all of Obey Alliance clumped up in that little mini room. That could be a bit of a disaster here, Crowley, putting the pressure into Cakefish on the high ground. That dynamite not quite going to be able to hit. And we can see Cakefish back up just a little bit. And Akash looking for this Lucio, trying to spawn camp to the best of his abilities. The High Noon not going to get a darn thing done there. Akash will be able to find Joe as well. 20 seconds left at Obey Alliance. I'm not sure they've had a full 6 since the first fight.
It doesn't feel like they have. It's been just craziness left, right, and center. And
oh,
there's another
pick.
Tree on a Tensa. Tensa cannot get away from Tree.
He just can't play the game.
In their back line, lives there, has set up shop, paying rent at this point.
He built an entire development. I mean, he's charging others for rent at this point. Him and Akash are hanging out in the back line. Foreshadow already able to find Paintbrush. That is no support online for Obey Alliance, but just as I say it, Sluggo taken offline as well. Angelic has to commit that Valkyrie. Desperate to keep the team alive. Crowley trying to find the Sigma. Cakefish will be able to find the accretion. The res comes through onto Sluggo with the minefield from Joe. Gonna be a darn tootin' big one, able to take Akash offline there. And now that pile drop coming back as well. This actually may be a winnable fight for Obey Alliance if they're careful. But as I say it, Joe taking offline. The Bob is aligned. Here comes a counter Bob coming through. Some great value, some damage, all the same. This is just an absolute massacre here. And just like that, Obey Alliance, the Overwatch factor finally kicking in the final moments of the game. They remember how to play, but Sluggo says slug no. Able to take Petal and Tensa both offline. The Sigma trying to be that sole survivor. We see Buck dancing around as well. Paintbrush is gone. Cakefish is gone. Sluggo falls, but it does not matter. Foreshadow finds Buck. And are you kidding me? Malice, they are just unstoppable here. Tree in particular on this defense.
No
Magnifique. Chef's kiss to say the least.
Tap, there's no tick. They didn't even get a single tick off the back of that. How does this happen? Oh my goodness. It's just truly devastating to come through. And Malice, I mean, on top of that, I mean, listen, Sluggo, we've been talking. I feel like there's been a big
redemption arc.
Swing, right? I mean, I've talked so many good things early about Sluggo. Then we had a bit of a tragic map last time out. Now, I mean, holy cow, Sluggo! What an incredible performance here. Kind of putting the team on the back, and I mean, I was getting flashbacks to Jonak season 1, like just putting the team on the carry bus, and I'm like, okay, I see you. Well done to Sluggo in that one. But regardless of that, I mean, just not enough focus fire there for Obey Alliance. I think realistically,
they panicked.
Yeah, they did. They also, honestly, I imagine they thought they had an advantage there, and they did.
Really? Yeah.
It just wasn't a big enough advantage to deal with the likes of Sluggo and, well, Foreshadow on the high ground with the help of Angelic. It definitely is not to be discounted. So regardless of how that went down, it's now, I mean, it's going to have to be, what, full hold or gone for Obey Alliance. I mean, this is serious points, and they don't have anything to work with really other than just this composition and everything that they can put on display here.
4 minutes is really going to be this make or break point for Obey Alliance, and if we see Malice come out as strong as that defense was, this is their game to take. But perhaps Obey Alliance has something hidden in their back pocket. That dynamite already a quarter of the way to Bob. Petal could not have hit a bigger dynamite there, able to get a lot of damage early on. I'm curious to see how well Joe's going to do on this Wrecking Ball. We've seen a lot of Orisa, but I want to see how well this Wrecking Ball can really perform.
I thought the Wrecking Ball was pretty decent last time out. The problem was that Akash just kind of outshadowed Joe in that one. It wasn't that I didn't feel Joe played poorly in any way. It was just an unfortunate scenario, you know?
Yeah. I'm very curious to see if Sluggo can come back. Like I like how you put it, that Jonak season 1. I mean, Sluggo was just bloodthirsty as ever, looking for eliminations left, right, and center. And speaking of eliminations, Foreshadow already able to find Joe on that high ground there, and it looks like Foreshadow looking for even a little bit more. Probably can have a great opportunity here, get hyper aggressive, might be able to farm. I mean, half of a tick, that's not exactly what you need, but it's a good starter for sure.
Well, but they got to put their foot on the point. I mean, the fact that there's so little time on this point to give away, it just kind of forces their hand early for RB Alliance.
Absolutely, and speaking of forcing hands, Tree will fall to Cakefish there. That's going to force the hand of Malice to perhaps move back, maybe cover up for this Resurrection, which will come through from Angelic as well. 2:36 left on the clock, so getting around half that time back gone. I mean, I hate to say it, but there is, of course, a world where Volskaya Industries ends in a draw.
Yeah, I mean, it's absolutely...
No, I'm sorry, it can't. They have 65%.
Yeah, no, this could be a victory, absolutely. But I mean, it's hard to imagine that world because, I mean, you just bank ults, right? If you're Malice, like that seems to be the strategy, at least at the minute. Now, Tree has already used that pulse bomb, but now, I mean, you can just start to pull ult after ult and make it life quite miserable for this Obey Alliance side.
Absolutely, and Obey Alliance looking to do just that to Malice as well. Able to find Foreshadow with a great pincer there. Able to find Petal and Joe on both sides. Foreshadow had nowhere to run. They might be able to find this Mercy if they're lucky. Oh, and just like that, the Coach Gun sends Akash into the stairwell. Foreshadow will get the Resurrection back online, but danger close. Tree almost has his head taken off. That Tree almost gets cut down, but is going to be able to live just a little bit longer. You talked about stacking these ultimates. They're going to have a Transcendence. They're going to have a Bob, and they're not too far from these tank ults either. I think there is a world where Malice can take this next fight if they play it smart.
Yeah, but that said, there's also ults on the other side. That's the big problem with trying to bank
a little early.
Yeah, just a little bit. Yeah, another example here for Sluggo where has to save somebody early on, and it's not working out.
Doesn't even work. I mean, yeah, goes to save the day, but can't even do that as 2 will be taken out. Crowley does, however, eat the pulse bomb from Buck, so that might make that next fight a little bit easier. They're going to have a pulse bomb, they're going to have a minefield, and they're going to have a diva bomb as well. But those are, I'd argue none of those are team-winning ultimates on their own.
No, no argument here from me. No doubt. I mean, the Valkyrie you could maybe argue is certainly a big one, but beyond that, I think that, you know, the zoning power of the bomb is really the biggest thing that you're looking for. But again, Cakefish gonna have a Gravitic Flux online, so the only positive thing to come out of that last fight is that both Tensa and Paintbrush both use their ults. So no support ults available for Obey Alliance in this one.
Yeah, now we could see Akash go for that boop off the map here if he plays it smart, but now he does it a little bit too late there. They knew where he was, and Tree finally cracks the fight open. Gravitic Flux is gone, but no, the Resurrection does come all the way through. Malice just not able to be in the right place. However, the Mercy will be taken offline. Tensa will fall. Sluggo is already gone, and maybe too late. Foreshadow and Petal are both taken out. Obey Alliance, they are 1 or 2 kills away from being able to take this. The bomb forced out from Crowley might be able to remake. Akash finds Paintbrush. The res on Foreshadow. Malice in these final moments. The Overwatch factor all over again. The last possible moment to remember how to play the game, and they do just that. Foreshadow finds Buck. Joe taken out by Tree. 1 tick gone. The second just a couple of seconds away there. We see the Lucio dashing in. Tensa dismissed before he can even touch the point, and just like that, it is over. Malice, they take the 3-1 victory here over Obey Alliance, and I'd say Volskaya was undoubtedly the closest map that we've seen all day.
Yeah, there's no question about that, Septon.
Everybody played at their best.
Yeah, they did. And what I will say is that I think that it shows the defensive prowess of both of those teams.
Absolutely.
Able to really do a solid job of getting the value when necessary. And I mean, on top of that, we just saw really impressive performances from key individual players come through from both sides. Tree, Sluggo in the opening half, but then it was Petal to come back with the big value, not to mention the likes of Buck. We didn't say their name all that often, but Buck had a great showing there on the second half as well, and I don't think we need to undersell that. So whilst it is going to read 3-1 in the favor of Malice, Obey Alliance, I think they can feel pretty good at least about 2 of those maps. Now granted, map 1 and 2, that was all Malice all the time.
Yeah, absolutely. That was Malice looking very good at the beginning, and then unfortunately things started to fall a little bit, but you know, it doesn't really matter if you fall as long as you still come out on top. So folks, we're going to be throwing into a super short break. We're going to get an interview in here with somebody from Malice, and we'll see you in just a minute. Don't go far. Welcome back, all you tank healers and damage dealers. Still Seth Villains and Vince, and here to bring you an interview, not with one, but with two members here of Malice. So we're here with both Akash and Tree. How you feeling, guys?
What's popping?
What's up?
Yeah, no, so I'm curious. Speaking of what's up, I'm curious what was up kind of in the middle of the series here. You guys come out super strong maps 1 and 2. You take really without much of a sweat, and then things start to fall apart a little bit toward the middle. Was there something in particular with your team comp, or was there something not working the way you wanted it to, or were you just simply maybe fumbling the ball a little bit? Was there something specific that kind of flipped things in favor of Obey Alliance there?
Let's just say Sluggo threw the whole time. Anytime we lost a team fight, Sluggo was throwing. Thank God he's leaving. He's going on vacation. He's gone.
Can agree. Yep.
A good thing he popped off on Volskaya then, I guess. Because,
yeah, he had to make up for it. We had to give him a pep
Let's just
talk.
call that luck. A little bit of
his
luck.
redemption arc, if you will.
Wait. Okay, so like just to be clear though, we gotta close that with the question of so is everybody now cool with Sluggo because Sluggo did clutch hard there on Volskaya?
No, he's actually kicked.
He's kicked.
We bought plane tickets for him. He's going to Florida right now.
Yeah, one of the good things about having 4 DPS is that we can just put one of our DPS on support. So Crazy Cat will be playing support tomorrow. That is what we're doing.
Is that like the reverse Violet? Is that how that works?
Yeah.
The anti-Violet.
And he's obviously better than Violet, so.
Oh, okay.
Crazy Cat, the one map we saw him in today, phenomenal job from him. Quite a showing there. That was his Ilios Reaper was a force to be reckoned with.
Yeah. Well, speaking of which, actually, that leads me to a question I did have. What's the mindset with the different DPS picks? Now, I thought that all of the DPS picks did really well with what they played, to be entirely honest with you, but it did seem like there was some incredible performances from, like, for example, my Crazy Cat, who really set the tone all the way back on Ilios and then was immediately subbed out, never to be seen again. What's the kind of mindset there with those DPS swaps?
Well, if you have Crazy Cat in and he sees the enemy team lock Reaper, a fire burns inside of him. He just shit talks them the whole time. Crazy Cat never speaks. He never opens his mic once. He's literally silent. I calm for him in third person if I'm dead. But as soon as he sees a Reaper on the enemy team, it's game over. And as we saw in Ilios, he was dominating Buck on the Reaper. Not to call you out, Buck, but that's all it was.
There was a potential Reaper gap.
It was definitely a very strong showing from Crazy Cat, but I know very well that when you see somebody playing your hero on the other team, just that fire builds up in you. You're like, I've got to show him who's boss. But definitely a good job from Crazy Cat in particular. And I mean, you guys, just like we said at the beginning, all around was. We talk about this. You guys go back and kind of watch. We talk about there's very few large mistakes coming out of you guys as a whole. There's just kind of a couple of times or a couple of micro errors here and there, but we were never, other than a couple of transcendences, we were never like, oh, that's a colossal mistake.
Yeah, well, and let me kind of lead into the rest of Trials here, because you guys unfortunately are at a point where I think a lot of things have to go right for you guys to really be in sort of contention. Right. This 3-1 absolutely helps out, and it kind of pushes you up to that second tier, not quite down in the bottom where unfortunately some others are sitting, like Obey Alliance. But you're gonna have to play not tomorrow but the day after against Shu's Money Crew, and I think that's a pretty tough matchup. What are you guys expecting for that matchup?
Well, you see, they have this specific player, Light. He plays the Ana for them. Yep. And since Sluggo won't be there for that match since he's leaving for Florida.
Kicked.
Yeah, kicked, that too. I joked about this before, but let's just say one of our DPS will be on flex support, and there might be a flex support gap that match, and that's just how we'll win.
All right.
I'm keeping an eye on it. I'm going to hold you to that.
Yeah. Listen, we'll be here for it, so we absolutely will hold you to it. Don't worry. We're going to be here. It's going to be a fun one. I hope that you guys can show us just that. Any final questions?
Yeah, just that last question for you guys.
Guy's mom for boosting my testosterone and getting me through that match, keeping me focused and motivated to take the dub. What about you, Tree?
Of course. Yeah, I'd have to agree with that one. And then,
all right, fair
yeah.
enough. Well, gentlemen, thank you so much for joining us. A phenomenal job from the both of you as well as the rest of your team. And like Vincent said, we will be broadcasting your next game as well. And we're going to hold you to that support too. So we'll see you guys then. Thank you so much for joining us.
Hashtag crime time.
And with that, folks, we are going to be throwing into a super short break. We've got another game coming up for you folks in just a minute. If I'm not mistaken, it's the Drifters versus the Wisps. So that will be quite a fascinating matchup. And we'll see you then, so don't go far. Welcome back, all you tanks, healers, and damage dealers, to a brand new game between the Drifters and the Wisps. I am Sepulence, joined once again by the wonderful Vincent, and we were talking about this a little bit off stream. But Vincent, this game, talking about no pressure, this game is a very important one for both of these teams.
I would call this a must-win game for either side. This is a position that, listen, I would hate to be in. Let me just be honest about it. But Drifters, Wisp, both coming in 2-1. You think, why is this such a must-win game? Well, two reasons. Number one, if you go down to that 2-2 scenario, it's not great for you. But the second difficulty here is both of these teams gonna have to be playing Ardor next. It's gonna be Drifters who play them on Thursday, and then Wisp playing them on Wednesday. And in addition to that, right, not only is that a hard game, but you would expect Ardor to win that based on the, what we've seen prior to this. But Wisp, they've got to play Uprising Academy as well. So if Wisp don't win this game, I think there's a pretty decent shot that they lose at least one of those two, and that's Wisp out of the contention. Drifters, they've got a little bit more wiggle room in that they're playing Shoes Money Crew and Ardor, but again, I think as SMC, that's a toss-up. Remember, that's the OD finals, and actually, by the way, it was actually a 7-map series in the winners final it was Drifters and SMC. So like, it's been back and forth. They've been trading blows, have those two teams. So I don't think it's a guarantee for either team to take a key victory there, meaning this is for all the marbles. This is really the game to set up one of these two teams for them to move on from trials to contenders, or unfortunately to stay right where they're at.
Yeah, that's exactly not where either team really wants to be. They want to win this one. They really, like you said, every card is on the table here. There can be no holds from both these teams. They need to be coming in 150% just the entire series, whether it's a 3-map, whether it's a 7-map, whether it is anything in between. But honestly, Drifters and Wisps, I mean, we talked about, there are some star-studded players on both these teams, some very strong individuals, and we're going to be moving into Ilios, which is not only my favorite map type in the game, Control, but also one of my favorite maps in the game. I love it. I think it's beautiful, and like I said, Control is just my favorite. But Vincent, if you just had to shot in the dark, do you think we're going to see a specific team comp here on Ilios?
I mean, I think we're probably guaranteed to see a bit of what we've seen before. I think the double shield is certainly a viable option, not to mention the fact that you could play the more divey composition. Honestly, I really think that what it has to do, like, I don't think I have a really solid idea of what is guaranteed better right this second. What I do know is that regardless of what you think is good, what you think is bad, anything just about can work, and so it is pretty much gonna be down to whether or not you can actually coordinate that out. And I mean, again, there's so many counter picks available as well that I think make this very exciting. So no particular compositions, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some similar things to what we saw in their prior matchup.
Yeah, agreed. I think Overwatch is in a phenomenal spot right now where it's kind of, there's nothing that is a constant pick for an entire team comp. We see a lot of rotations. We see a lot of counters to go against a specific hero on the opposing team, so on and so forth. And I really enjoy that. We're not watching the same comp kind of over and over. Now, the players may hate that, of course, because that's not, you want to get good at one comp and you want to run with it. But this is definitely going to get things changed up just a little bit. And like I said earlier, I'm very excited to see what these teams bring to the table.
Yeah, and a big note here, vote in on the DPS here for the Flex DPS position. Maxwell, the starter, but not going to be starting out today. Everything else similar for Drifters. As we get down to it, the looks at the compositions, that's an interesting one. For Drifters, I think we're probably, I hesitate to say that we'll see Rocket stick with this. I assume we're going to see more of this Sombra and Reaper sort of composition if this is pretty much stuck to. But I do kind of like that I mean, if CJ sticks with this Ana, that's a very interesting win condition that's available, because that means that those biotic grenades can absolutely be huge. But the other side of that is that CJ becomes a huge target.
Yeah, absolutely. CJ, I think, is going to be a massive target here just in general, with both Crimson and Ship playing those tanks. They can really get into the back line. CJ, on that Ana, literally zero mobility other than just her legs. And we see Boat, I think, forced out of an invis there completely on accident by Soko. So very unfortunate start, and where he almost takes that Sombra's head clean off her shoulders, but not quite able to confirm that kill. And we've got the slow burn now. It's really going to come down to who finds that crucial first elimination.
Well, but it was a big hack onto Joshua, and that's going to really open things up to get that first elimination step.
Oh, Vega, however, somehow in the middle of a fight gets that resurrection off and lives to tell the tale. So a 5v6 turns right back into a 6v6. So a great peel from Joshua there, able to keep that Ashe alive. And instead, Anduari is going to pick up Rocket. Neptune not far behind either. This Ashe already making quite the name, able to take 2 offline at the beginning of the fight.
Indeed, and yeah, I mean, listen, you might be able to get that opening pick, but if you're not able to close things down, it's always going to be a problem. That said, with 20%-ish ticked away, now finally it's going to be the cap, but that's a large amount of charge onto the point for what is ultimately not even a real long-term fight. As okay, okay, finally,
wow.
That's
20 to nearly 40. And
yeah,
we might keep going.
Okay.
Dang.
There we go. Yeah, nearly 40 is right.
Doubled it.
Exactly. But look at what it's done. Look at the ults that are on line step. This is what happens when you stagger like that.
Right.
Is you just hand over free ult charge, and there's going to be 6 ultimates online here for Wisp in the coming fight. So Drifters, they're going to be having to deal with what they put in this next time because, I mean, listen, they gave away huge ult charge, and now they're going to have to contend with the consequences.
Yeah, a lot of ults, like you said, nearly 6 going to be online for Wisp here, and Drifters, they've got 1. They're very close to 3 more, but very close does not matter when it comes to these ultimates. You want to have them online. You want to use them. And speaking of using ultimates, here comes Bob. Here's a bomb. Here's a Valkyrie. Here's a nano boost. You want a Primal Rage, you just might get it, but no, the 4-man EMP coming in from Boat. Maybe just enough for the Drifters to turn this fight around. Dooms will fall. Skyward going to be taken out by CJ there. Rocket picks up CJ with the pulse bomb. Ultimates flying out from both sides. The beat forced out from Neptune, and we went from 10 ultimates down to 2 being available.
Yeah, I mean, blink and you miss it there. That EMP really turning the tide, but Joshua, again, trying to utilize that Primal Rage, but gets hacked out. The hacks have been on point for Boat, and oh no, that's a big opening.
Yeah, Champ able to get some great value there. Doom is going to be able to find the kill, but it may already be too late. The damage has been done. Wisp now reaching about 70%, so we really need to see Drifters do anything. They really need to get in here. They need to get aggressive. They need to get back on point because they staggered themselves for so long just to buy 40%, and now Wisp is doing the same thing, but better. They ended up winning that fight.
Yeah, they just, I mean, another point there where it comes to not enough focus fire, not enough bodies, really. I don't even think the focus fire was bad from Drifters. They just didn't have enough bodies there to actually commit to the fight, and now it's 91% and taking last fight territory. Now, nothing online for Wisp, though. So, it's going to be that EMP and the engagement tool from Rocket to really turn the tide.
I'm, like, nervous for the Drifters here. They really waited for that last possible moment to touch, but the touch may just turn into a cap. Just completely Wisp gives up the point. They were so confident they were going to win that fight, and they very well may have been right in that confidence as Crimson has been taken offline. There's no resurrection, so the main tank is going to be missing, but the 3-man EMP is going to have to work wonders. They can take it offline. Ship is able to find that kill, but Skyward gone. One support traded for another. Here comes that Bob from Anduari once again, and even if Bob doesn't get kills, he's just so darn scary that it's going to force them all off the point.
Yeah, I mean, the cap almost coming through, and it's 99% and ticking, remember, so as soon as the cap comes through, overtime is gone.
Yeah, blink and you miss it. The overtime getting ready to come to an end, and Boat comes out of invis, but really not going to do much. That may have bought somebody just enough time to recontest with the bomb. Great call from Soko there, able to scare them off just a little bit longer. We see Drifters, they do not have the numbers to be fighting a fight like this, but they are not going to give up on it quite yet.
No, last-minute swaps. Crimson going over to the Wrecking Ball in order to try and stop this, but the duplication on the back of that. Another bomb to try and zone the point, but it's not been quite effective enough. As Neptune engages that sound barrier to keep everyone healthy.
Yeah, the sound barrier does come out from Neptune here. CJ is going to be able to find a kill. Rocket with the pulse bomb, but there goes Neptune immediately after. Oh, the Baby Diva caught out as well. Doomed is making the Drifters just that. They are doomed indeed, able to find a triple kill there. A very clunky fight from these teams at the end, but Wisp is able to secure that first stage point coming into Ilios. They're only 1 away from taking the map and giving themselves a point in the series.
Yeah, and it was, I mean, you have to say it's one crucial mistake from Drifters that just gave away that point towards Wisp, because I mean, listen, I was fine with them banking the time and even giving away the ult charge. That's fine, not a problem, but you have to just allow for Wisp to win that fight. They used 4 ultimates at once. 4 ultimates, but because Drifters engaged with many of their own, they kind of put themselves in a position to continually lose fight after fight because they never regained any sort of ult advantage. So as we move into the well, we're going to have to see maybe some adjustments, maybe just no mistakes this time out, as Boat onto a bit of an interesting pick, locking the legs as the Soldier comes out for the first time on the beautiful Ilios.
Yeah, Drifters seem to never skip leg day here. Like you said, Boat is going to be coming out on that Soldier 76, and other than the tanks, we could not have a more different roster, different DPS and different support. So it really could come down to that differential of the tanks, but the DPS diff may be just a little bit too strong as Doom takes Boat out of the fight straight away. With that damage boost, Boat didn't stand a chance, and that's going to give Wisp a phenomenal opportunity to cap this first point.
Yeah, well, and I mean, listen, Doomed, getting that opening pick, so crucial, like you were talking about, and beyond that, you know, Boat has, you know, that mobility, but it's nothing comparatively to the to what Doom can put on, and taking advantage of that to great effect.
Yeah, Anduari will fall, Crimson gone as well. The Resurrection Elver onto the Ash. I feel like Drifters, they've really got to do something about this Mercy. Every time they find a kill, Vega just immediately cancels it.
I mean, Vega, I talked about Vega as one of those players to look out for, continually finding big value, you're right.
Absolutely, and Soko here able to find Boat early on, who just on the legs has not gotten to play the game quite yet. Rocket gone as well, already a third of the point in favor of Wisp.
Yeah, and I mean, listen, I don't want to, at this point, you kind of are committed to this legs lock, but I think maybe not getting as much value out of that as you would have hoped. The, you know, the whole point of playing the Soldier here is its mobility, but unfortunately, it's been kind of, well, ironically, the legs have been chopped out from under of Boat because never able to really engage into the fight before getting taken down by the likes of Doom.
Yeah, and I'm very curious to see. I was going to say, we're going to see the Nano pre-transformation onto Doomed, but they beat me to it, took the words right out of my mouth. Able to farm a little bit of damage, but not quite enough. Anduari will fall, and Vega might go for the res. Pulse Bomb coming out. Rocket able to find CJ, but taken out by Soko's bomb. And yep, there's that resurrection once again from Vega. Rocket's kill hardly matters to the rest of his team, just being ripped to absolute shreds here. 3/4 is the way done with Ilios well, and Wisp, they are looking mighty, mighty good. However, as I say it, we see Crimson desperate to save the day here, desperate to get the Drifters even 1% online.
Yeah, I mean, and maybe, just maybe that's the ticket, but with Bob coming in and even more damage, potentially a duplicate. There it is!
Oh, I don't think that's what Doom's meant to do! I think he meant to lock out of the Diva, and Neptune jumped in the way! Oh, that was... I do not think that was intentional. That could be a huge disaster here. Neptune finds one, Chip finds another, and just like that, I mean, Drifters, they have done it. They get that first point cap.
That they do, but look at the concept. It's everything that they've had and more. Yeah. It's going to be needed to get that. And I mean, in fairness, an equal amount of investment there from Wisp is going to mean that it's a bit of a dry fight. But so it's all really on to Boat and Doomed. Who can actually find that engagement tool? Boat needing to find a big hack. We saw what he could do against the likes of Jishua, or potentially Doomed focusing that beam down onto opposing players.
Yeah, absolutely. And Anduari's going to fall, but find Vega. You've got to get that Mercy out of here. I know that she's immediately looking for that res early on. Instead, Crimson going to be traded out. Soko is able to find the kill with the help of Jishua. Boat is gone. That's half of the roster for the Drifters already being dismissed. Things are looking bleak here on Ilios well.
I mean, that they are. The Rocket might have something to say. Drifter's not quite out of this yet, especially with the stick. That's a double kill.
Get rid of the Mercy, take her offline. Vega just waiting for the opportunity to find that res, but Rocket trying so desperately to make sure that doesn't happen. With the help of Skyward, able to do just that. And Vincent, I couldn't have said it better. Rocket certainly has something to say about this map, trying to take stage 2 of Ilios, force us into Ilios stage 3. And I'm very curious to see if there's going to be that value they want coming into this next fight. They've got the support ult. They're going to be going into 4 ultimates coming out from Wisp.
Yeah, and the biggest issue is Boat's been very slow building up on this EMP, and that is really what you need to come out to counter all these ultimates, and that's just not there. So it's going to have to be Neptune and Skyward, both of those supports, to come up big time for Rocket, or for Drifters to really come out victorious.
Yeah, no doubt about that. And speaking of victorious, Vega here doing a phenomenal job. Crimson's going to be able to find a kill on Anduari, but I suspect to see this Mercy get that res every time. Vega just tearing it up on this Mercy so far with the ultimates, with the resurrections, keeping the team alive in general. The Valkyrie there is going to be huge. The nano boost coming out from CJ, trying to keep the team alive. Going to be able to help Jishua find a kill onto Skyward. Neptune is gone as well. This looks like Wisp's fight to win.
Yeah, but EMP hits 4 players, so maybe, just maybe, Rocket can pull it back as he gets the bomb onto Vega.
We
but
saw
Bob,
him do it once.
I mean, Bob's on point, and that's a problem.
Yeah, that's certainly a problem indeed. Like you said, Bob is on point here. We saw Rocket turn a fight around once, pretty much on their lonesome, but it looks like they may not be able to have that same sense of luck again. Second fight coming through, 99% flipped in favor of Wisp. They've got an opportunity to win this if they play it smart. We see a lot of damage coming out from Drifters. They're desperate to find even one elimination, and the D-Mac very well make them through in just a moment here. Soko will, in fact, lose that back. That's going to be massive for the Drifters. They are desperate to take this one, and finding that kill onto Soko certainly will help. CJ gone as well. Rocket just trying to single-handedly bring this team to victory. Chip finds one, Rocket finds another. Joshua gets a kill, but my friend, it is far too late. The Drifters seem to have done it. They may be able to take Ilios. Well, they certainly will. We are going all the way to Lighthouse.
Oh, man, but is there a light at the end of the tunnel for Drifters? That's the question. And I don't know what the answer is because Wisp, it was all within their grasp. They had it there, but at the very last moment, Drifters just had the last second touch. And fortunately, they also had the staggers working out in their favor. Right. I mean, I honestly, like, there's very few times where I will say at a level, this is in Overwatch, there was luck involved. I think there was just a tiny bit, a little bit lucky. Right, for Drifters, because they had the right players coming back at the right time in order to keep everyone healthy, and not to mention that, but they also found key picks on the likes of Vega from Rocket. So doing a really good job of finding those, and well, we're forced to a third stage. Like you said, it's going to be Lighthouse, and much the same across the board as we look to try and shut down whatever was happening and whatever happened there for Drifters in that second stage.
Yeah, like you said, I believe it's completely the same. I don't think anybody has swapped off of anything quite yet, and I'm curious to see, you know, I keep talking about how well Wisp is doing, but I want to see them keep this momentum. The Drifters, they clutch out Ilios, and you can't be losing momentum like that early on. You want to send a message early. You want to take that first control map as quickly and as aggressively as possible. And as I say, Drifters looking to do just that. Doomed will be taken offline by Skyward and Vega. Once again, with the res, somebody start keeping track of how many resurrections this Mercy gets off, because something tells me it is going to be quite a few. 10% already online with the Drifters. Anduari's going to be caught on the high ground. Might be able to, will find the D-Mac coming through. So that's going to be a phenomenal turnaround. Rocket picking up Doom once again. The Drifters, looks like they may have actually secured a fight win. And as I say it, Anduari and Joshua find a triple kill. They very well may have been able to turn this one around.
I mean, yeah, it looks like it probably is going to be turned around. There's a couple of players still left, and it's been the counter dive, actually, from Drifters that's been most effective. But maybe, just maybe, this fight ain't over just yet. It's just what he does get nano boosted, and it's going to allow for them to farm up that Primal Rage. But the ticks are still moving, and they're not moving in the favor of Wisp. It's Drifters who still have control.
Yeah, the Drifters still have control here indeed, but it looks like that may not be for long as Doom picks up not 1, but 2, make it 3 eliminations with the help of Joshua, make it 4 with the bombs onto Neptune. And again, the echoes we've seen today, they have all been nothing short of ruthless.
Indeed they have, though the biggest problem right now for Drifters is Anduari in that position up top is entirely uncontested. Needs to find somebody to do the contestation up there for that player. And I mean, the problem is, who is it? It's got to be a tank, but I mean, committing that much resources is maybe a difficulty.
Yeah, absolutely. And speaking of tanks, you know who fills in for a really good tank when you need one is going to be Bob. And I think the early commitment here from Anduari was a bit of a confusing choice, but it buys them time. And I think that's realistically kind of what they're looking for with this approach, is to buy themselves as much time as possible. You hear the Pulse Bomb come out, but it looks like it's not going to be able to find much. The double EMP, Doom's now swapping onto a Tracer of their own. Halfway to a Pulse Bomb. It could actually have potential to be massive if they're able to hit it, but not quite able to land it. Vote, however, with a triple kill. Sombra dealing 6 damage per headshot, just dumping into shots here. There's the stick they were looking for. Rocket will fall. Doomed will be forced out of that transformation, and just like that, we see the Drifters will be able to take it back.
Yeah, and it was actually Anduari who displaced themselves in that fight. It wasn't that. And a really intelligent decision for Drifters to kind of force the fight to happen on point by just engaging on the point, right? Yeah, if you get the point, that's the objective. You can't just ignore the objective if you're Wisp. And so from a Drifters' perspective, they did a brilliant job of basically just forcing the fight into their an effective place that is way better for them, especially with Neptune and Skyward playing on this support line. But now big ultimates online, and that's one of them. Bob gonna contest that point.
Point out how quickly Anduari got another one of those. My goodness, that Bob, I'm pretty sure there was one at the beginning of the last fight, and there's already another one coming out, but Neptune does not care about how quickly you charge a Bob. He will dismiss that one all the same. The Drifters now in that last fight territory to keep this point, and Neptune with another boop kill onto Soko, desperately trying to give the Drifters a win. And looks like he may have been able to do that. Chip will be able to find Anduari. A 3v6 coming through here. This is going to be a very difficult fight for Wisp to win. Difficult turns into near impossible. Is it a 2v6 here on point? And just like that, nobody will touch Drifters with the reverse there on Ilios.
Drifters, I feel like they kind of pulled that back from the depths of despair.
No doubt.
In many ways, because it looked as if they were all done and dusted back over on the well. They looked like they might go out in 2-0 fashion with regard to this map, but it was just this last second push and then on towards Lighthouse. Really intelligent plays coming through. I mean, honestly, Neptune, what an incredible performance on the Lucio there as well, but it was mostly because of the way that the team engaged. They allowed for Neptune to be into those positions because they just were like, hey, listen, guys, if y'all don't want to fight on the point, we're just gonna stand over here out of your sight lines, and there ain't nothing you can do about it. So we're gonna fight on the point. Deal? And unfortunately, Wisp, they had to take the deal, despite the fact that it was a horrible deal for them.
Yeah, whether they wanted to or not, that deal was certainly just kind of handed to them. And something funny that I noticed there while I was looking at the player cards is Doomed dealt, I believe it was like 14,000 damage or whatever it was. We saw Doomed deal it, and then Skyward on the Moira healed almost the exact same amount. So it's almost as if Skyward just completely canceled out Doom there with the healing. I think it was like a 150-ish difference, but I do believe we're going to be throwing into a quick break before we hop into our next map. So everybody use this time. Get up, stretch your legs, go refill your water bottles, do what you got to do, but don't go far because we're bringing the action back to you in just a few. Welcome back, everybody. I hope you missed these handsome faces just as much as we missed your beautiful faces there at home. We are going to be jumping into our next map, one of my personal favorites, just because it means I normally get to see some Junkrat gameplay. We're going to be jumping into Temple of Anubis, and like I said, fingers crossed that my man Junkrat shows up.
Oh man, listen, if there's a place that the Junkrat's going to be showing its face, it's going to be right here on the Temple of Anubis. But regardless of that, I think honestly, Wisp, they're gonna want to run that one back. I have to imagine. But like realistically, that map, it looked like it could have gone Wisp's way. And then Drifters just kind of, they brought back well, just barely, and then they kind of dominated when it came down to the Lighthouse. So for that reason, I think we got to ask the question, with Boat in particular, popping off in that or rather on that third point, I think maybe, just maybe, we might be seeing Drifters just kind of increasingly up their performance as this series goes on. Maybe it's a bit early, but that seems to be what we saw thus far. We'll see if that is going to continue. But in a map like Temple of Anubis, the rules of engagement sort of change, don't they, Septilence?
Certainly. Yeah, certainly. I'm kind of thinking that exact same thing because Wisp, I mean, they look so strong at the beginning of Elios, and by the end, they're looking like a little bit lugubrious, a little bit sad when it comes to kind of their team comp and kind of sticking together as a group. I felt there was a lot of individual approaches, a lot of two people pushing in, the other four standing back just over and over, and that really was not working out for them. So I think, like you said, the style of approach is certainly different on Anubis. It looks like, unless things change, Wisp will be starting on the defense. So I'm curious to see if they're going to hold that high ground and try to hold the choke, or if maybe Drifters is going to rush through main. I think Wisp really need to stick together more as a team to succeed.
Well, yeah, I mean, I think that's a fair point, right? Like, in regardless of what was going wrong, so to speak,
right.
it seemed as if the engagements were just a little bit disjointed. And like I said before, Drifters kind of forced the entirety of Wisp to just play their game back over on Lighthouse. And so if that's what's happening once again here, then I definitely think that they're going to have a really solid opportunity to kind of change things up. But that's just it. You're going to have to change things up just a little bit. And well, as we get towards moving into that, I think that deferred Drifters, they sort of have the opportunity to stake their claim, make a statement. You know, move in here and show that they are they're a contender for, I mean, no pun intended, by the way, for this contender spot, and rather than just kind of, you know, infinitely in the trials rotation. So I think they have that opportunity. But similarly, Wisp, they don't want to go out. They don't want to go home.
Yeah, no, they certainly do not want to go home. We talked about how important this really is. So for Wisp to fall in that one map deficit early on, I mean, that's definitely something to be worried about. And now I'm curious, they're sticking with that double shield. That's not the least bit surprising. I think that does make a lot of sense here, being on that defense. I think that's something we see relatively often coming through from these teams. But I'm curious because we see Rocket on the Genji, and personally, I'm never a fan of Genji unless there's an Ana to boot.
I mean, I was about to say, I think that we're going to get baited just a little bit there, and that's
that makes much more sense.
The case. But beyond that, I actually like what Boat's on right now. I think the Sombra makes a lot of sense. The only big issue that I find right now is that, I mean, who's meant to contest Doomed? There's no one to contest Doomed, and that might become a problem depending on the pathing. But right now, this is good pathing.
Yeah, I mean, don't get me wrong, got a couple of hit scans here and there, right? But none of them do damage from a distance. They are all close quarters damage dealers, and I'm curious to see, like you said, if they can keep themselves kind of in the building. Doomed gets almost no value, and it looks like he's going to be able to shoot through the ceiling just a little bit, but not find any hit markers, and now the damage really going to start dumping itself out. Boat sneaking up from behind, able to find CJ Vega gone as well. The support line for Wisp is just ripped apart.
I mean, what an incredible engagement that was, and it is just cleaned up at this point for Rocket and the rest. But, you know, Boat in position to do massive damage. Beyond that, though, Crimson's timing on that jump, impeccable in order to pretty much push everyone back. No one able to do much of anything about it, and we've already seen a swap. Soko going to be onto the Diva as opposed to the Sigma. So I'm actually not 100% sure what the thought process with the Diva is as opposed to the Sigma, but I do think that it's an interesting swap up. But Doomed is going to have a lot of ult charge here. That's probably the biggest positive to come out of that fight, is that Doomed is pretty much going to be walking in with an ult of their own.
Yeah, absolutely. Like you said, Doomed is going to have that ultimate online, so I'm very curious to see the value coming through and kind of what can be the opposition here for Wisp. I agree, the Diva swap is odd. I don't dislike it, but I feel like it's kind of an odd choice coming through. I feel like Sigma may have done a little bit better just kind of opening up and creating a lot of space, but Diva can do that if Soko wants to get really aggressive.
Yeah, I mean, maybe trying to do the spot checking a little bit more for Boat. I'm not too sure, but engagement coming in, and there it goes with Coalescence.
Yeah, and speaking of ultimates coming out, Boat only 8% away, and as I say, getting closer and closer. That EMP going to be rearing its ugly head in just a moment. Doomed chooses to swap onto the Winston. Is actually going to be able to create a lot of space, has split up a lot of the Drifters and give them really nowhere to hide. They're going to be caught up in a couple of opportunities here, but we really see Drifters aren't hard committing. They've got almost 5 minutes. They've got nearly 5 ultimates. I mean, this next fight is theirs for the taking.
Yeah, I mean, but what? And the other thing is, like, what is they going to do to stop it? Nothing. That's a 5-man EMP!
And there it is. Yeah, they're going to do nothing indeed. Boat picks up 5. The pulse bomb from Rocket, a little bit overzealous, but doesn't look like it's going to hurt or be harmless there. We see the bomb now coming out from Soko. Might be able to get something if he's lucky, but nothing going to come through quite yet. Instead, going to be dismissed by Soko here. Crimson trying to make up for this lost ground, but Rocket going to be able to do just that. A triple kill between the two of them, and now, I mean, this realistically, Drifters, they've still got the numbers.
They do, but I mean, the problem is the spawn advantage.
Right.
That Wisp has, and I mean, even with this coalescence, it's maybe not going to be quite enough, but as I say that, Ship does get the DMAX, so things looking up a little bit.
Yeah, Ship does get the DMAC on the Soko. The high noon from Anduari is going to be able to do a little bit, but not quite as much as I think they wanted. Now trying to find the baby Diva. Going to get interrupted by Crimson. They're able to save his partner's life, and Anduari will pay the price of his life with a pile drive. Doomed, and CJ with the back-to-back headshot, cleaning up the rest of the Drifters, who didn't even get a tick out of that nearly 2-minute fight.
Yeah, and beyond that, not only just 2 minutes used, but all the ultimates used. Every single one of them. Nothing left in the tank for Drifters, and I mean, that's a bit problematic. I really don't know. It felt like you have 5 players EMP'd, you should probably get a bit more out of that. But yeah, I agree. I think these swaps make a lot of sense. Reinhardt pulled out here, and Duari, of course, on the McCree as well. And Doomed Pulse Bomb ready and rearing to go is certainly a positive. So,
what a fire strike!
So much damage off the back of it, too.
Just so free. Ult charge. I mean, that just separated Joshua and Crimson by a country mile there. And Vincent, you know what? I'm still pretty upset. All these swaps, and I still haven't seen my man Junkrat. So my feelings are starting to be a little bit hurt, but I guess they're all playing to win, and that's all we can ask. Double Immortality Field coming out. Vega going to drop the beat early on, trying to clean up crew here best they can. Joshua already only 25% away from a shatter. Looking to find it, getting close, going to be 10% away. Just 1 or 2 more swings, but they are not going to need it here in this fight. Ship and Neptune both taken offline. The Wisp, I mean, Wisp, they take a little bit longer than they would have liked, but they're coming back to life here on Anubis.
That they are, but once again, we're looking at a start of a build towards a large ult bank for Drifters. That said, Wisp now is certainly having something to say about it. They're going to have both their DPS and both of their tank ultimates online, or this Wisp side, and beyond that, you're going to have Neptune to potentially deny pretty much all of that with a well-placed sound barrier. So key here, I think, is this sound barrier from Neptune.
Absolutely. I mean, like you said, going to be looking for that sound barrier here to separate the team and kind of keep them alive a little bit. But if Neptune gets shattered, if Neptune gets caught out by this bomb, that's going to be a huge disaster. And speaking of getting caught out, there we go. A triple flashbang, I believe, from Anduari is going to be able to find 3 kills off the back of it. Rocket, Crimson, and Boat all taken out. Like I said at the beginning of that fight, Wisp, this feels like a whole new team just all of a sudden.
Well, we swapped to the Brawl Mirror, essentially, and the pace of play is significantly different for Wisp. They seem to have turned the tide, turned the corner. They don't know what hit them, do Drifters, and it seems crazy because, at least on paper, with the May, it feels like they should have the advantage in that pace battle because they can just throw up a wall and just say, nope, nothing here.
Right. Oh, gonna have to commit an Immortality Field and the beat. Talk about a double disaster, because here comes a bomb. Not gonna be able to find much. The high noon now from Anduari. Gonna get walled out by Rocket, who's got a blizzard to boot. Joshua gonna drop the shatter in a panic and gonna be blocked out by the opposing Reinhardt. Crimson there. June finds one. Anduari finds another, but you've lost your main tank, and until you kill Crimson, which you're able to do so, you were gonna be at risk of losing that fight. Soko picks up not 1, but 2 kills off the back of it, and just like that, Wisp, they refuse to budge on this second point.
That they do. 40 seconds on the clock, and there is all of those ultimates used, though, from Wisp last fight. Means that there's just the support ults left. Now, Vega, CJ, both have big value to provide as Rocket swaps from May over to Tracer in the hopes to become the difference maker once again. We've seen Rocket play incredibly on this Tracer before, but is it going to be enough this time out? My eyes, though, Crimson and Ship, they've got to find something out of the ultimates on the tank line.
And speaking of these ultimates, here come a very aggressive Griddick Flux. That's going to force out Vega's B, trying to save the day. Going to break it down a little bit for the team. Crimson a little bit overzealous with the shatter, only able to find 1. Going to get taken out as well. Boat falls, Anduari falls as well. Crimson the next to go. Wisp, they've got the lead for just a moment, but Joshua not far behind. Doom is going to be able to find Skyward as Rocket takes out CJ. The 3 trades in a row. The Krees fall, the Rhines fall, the Baptistas fall, and Ship will fall on the Sigma there. Rocket going toe-to-toe with Doom. Going to have to tuck tail and run as Soko is able to find an elimination. Anduari now on the Doomfist looking for the kill onto the Lucio, but Neptune being a little bit escapable. Oh, Anduari dismisses the beat, takes it clean offline. Rocket taken out as well. Soko finds Boat, and just like that, not even a single % online for the Drifters on Temple Anubis B.
I mean, what a hold by Wisp, but I have to keep it real with you. I think the Drifters kind of gave that one away. They had so many opportunities, so many real potential victory. I mean, ult winning, fight winning, you know, map winning ult combos available for them, but they never were able to put them together. And so many times did Wisp just engage quicker, have a faster movement, get into the back line and create an opening pick that just stalled out the push time and time again for Drifters. And so I have to say that I think more realistically, that's Wisp making that hold, and you know, and Drifters kind of falling to pieces. They just weren't really able to make the decisions as quickly as they did on point number 1. So we're gonna have to hope and pray that they're gonna be able to do something different here on their defense, at the very least, if they want to continue remaining undefeated in this series thus far.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, Joshua, I'm shocked to see him back on the Winston, because he was a menace on that Reinhardt. I mean, it was a phenomenal turnaround. He biffed one shatter, but other than that, I was terrified. I saw some great value there, and as Crimson's on the Rhine, I wouldn't be surprised to see Joshua swap back. And of course, I want to very quickly pull attention to Doomed, or I think it was Anduari, who interrupted Neptune's beat in that final fight. Yeah. I really do think that's the reason that the Wisp was able to take that fight. So huge kudos on that as well. But as these gates open up, Doomed gonna go against Boat on that McCree, so somebody is going to be contesting the Echo this time, which I feel we haven't seen a lot of immediate Echo contesting this fight so far. This match so far.
Not at all. And that's, I think, part of the problem whenever Doomed was on it, getting big value out of it. And beyond that, there's just not a lot. I mean, this composition that right now Drifters are running is very, I don't know, it's just really difficult to hold space with. You have one type of engagement that's positive for you, and otherwise you just kind of have to run and hide.
Yeah, absolutely. You just kind of have to, like I said, kind of tuck tail and run and hide. And we see that the Drifters, they were able to cap first point in, I think, less than a minute. So we see Wisp trying to do that same thing, but unfortunately just not able to find their footing as quickly. Boat already has that high noon online, and I was going to say these high noons have never been for kills, but always to create space, and Boat doing just that.
I mean, lots of space created this time out, sure, and it actually splits the team, but is it enough?
Joshua's going to be able to get Neptune straight away. The nano boost from CJ making a massive difference. Going to be able to find the DMAX straight after. So 4v6 as 2 have fallen on the side of the Drifters here. Wisp taking about 15 seconds longer, but it looks like they're finally ready to cap this point. However, as I say it, Crimson finds a kill. We see the transformation from Doomed has to come out to stay alive. They find Crimson. Now they're looking for this Tracer as well. Not quite able to find the kill. Anduari going to pick up Rocket, and just like that, Wisp has secured that first point cap. Now they have to secure 33% of the second one to take Anubis and tie up the series 1-1.
That they do. And Wisp, I mean, doing a good job, I think, is certainly there on that. I mean, Doomed having to use the duplicate, like, unfortunate, but actually did a good job of holding off as long as possible and just kind of waited it out. Now Boat going to be swapping over to a Sombra. That EMP, remember, big value. You talk about it all the time, Septulence, about how it's just a fight winner, and you're absolutely right. But remember, last time out, Boat, EMP, didn't work out.
Right, I was just thinking that same thing. You took the words right out of my mouth. I was thinking last time we saw Boat with an EMP, they ended up losing the fight. So I think maybe you need to be a little bit more confident with these. Maybe a little bit even cheekier, if that makes sense. Just get hyper aggressive, get as deep into the team as you can. Try to find as many opponents as possible. But right now the EMP might not even get a chance to come to existence. As there it is, nobody touches the point. And just like that, Wisp secure Anubis. My friends, we have a full-blown series on our hands, tying things up 1-1.
I mean, what a great counter pick this has been.
Absolutely.
I mean, like, doing an incredible job, number one, of their engagements here. Wisp, I mean, I cannot understate how good they did when it came down to being on the back foot. You think that they have less ultimates. You think that they should be going down, but no, they're in your face. They're in your back line, and they're everywhere trying to make the biggest difference, and indeed they do. Wisp doing an incredible job to tie this series up like you're talking about. And I mean, like we said before, it kind of felt like Drifters may have gotten into their own head when it came down to their compositional choices a little bit. Like I don't know, I feel like that the brawl composition there on point 1 of Anubis is just not ideal.
It's tough.
it is really difficult to do unless you're just running into a brawl mirror. And I think that eventually I mean, it was a bit quicker than I had anticipated, but I think eventually Wisp would have won on point 1 regardless, just by building up big ultimates and by pick potential, because nobody was able to deal with Anduari. Nobody was able to deal with Doomed. I mean, yeah, right. Rocket could get into the backline, but there's just so many differential high grounds and stuff. The Tracer, it's just so difficult for the Tracer to contend with, and so regardless, Drifters maybe like I said, getting a bit ahead of themselves in that one. But the good news is Septilence, they get to pick this next map, and it's only 1-1, so that means they have plenty of opportunities to continue and to make this a much better series for them.
Absolutely. I often say this in Rocket League, but I guess it makes a little bit more sense here in Overwatch as well. This 1-1 is essentially a complicated 0-0. Both these teams now only need to win 2 maps. So we're going to find out which one of these teams is going to be able to come out on top in our next map in just a couple of minutes. Use this break, folks. Stretch your legs, go refill your water bottles, do what you got to do. We've got about 5 minutes. We'll see you then. Welcome back, my friends. Once again, Wisp versus Drifters, turning into a 1-1 series very early on. Ilios goes to Drifters, and oh my goodness, I'm sorry, I'm just thinking my eye. And Anubis goes to Wisp, so it's going to be tied up 1-1 moving into our next map, Watchpoint Gibraltar. Vincent, we've seen both these teams really shine and take a map. Do you think either of them have a little bit more advantage than the other moving into this next map?
I'm gonna keep it real with you. I just think it matters about the map.
I agree.
I mean, listen, I was hanging out in chat whilst we were on break, and I saw somebody, I don't know who it was, who said something along the lines of, once the Brawl comp comes out, the Wisp are better out the back of a Jishua MTD, and, well, that's what I've seen. I mean, that is what I've seen so far.
I agree. Jishua has been terrifying.
That is, listen, you know, chat analysis isn't always right analysis, but that sure as heck is. And beyond that, Drifters, whenever they go to the more divey style, I think that they've looked a bit better. But whenever they've committed to their Brawl, it's left me wanting. So on a map like Gibraltar, I think this makes sense. They maybe Drifters kind of feeling the same read as what we are here on the desk, thinking, okay, well, let's go maybe to a bit of a more dive-centric map, and we'll maybe be better.
Yeah, I think maybe dive-centric, like you said, possibly double bubble. I don't think we've seen a lot of, if any of that so far. I mean, I honestly don't remember if we've seen any of that classic kind of double bubble lineup. I know we've seen a lot of Winston, a lot of Diva, and this is going to be a tough map to play Reinhardt, especially because there's just so much leveling on the high ground that Winston and Diva can both really utilize well. So I'm curious to see if the Drifters can have the opportunity to bring that out like they want to, or maybe Wisp is going to have to make a couple of changes they don't really want to.
Yeah, I mean, the questions I think are outstanding, right? What do we see? How is it going to work out? All of those things, right? I don't know that we've seen it work either way just yet, but because Wisp has already done well on their Brawly composition, now Drifters have to make a statement. This is them on the back foot. This is their counter pick, and then from here, now Drifters have to say, okay, we're better here. We are making we're making the statement. We're stepping up big time, and I think it's possible. Gibraltar is certainly the map to do that on, as like we were talking about. It is definitely an advantage for Drifters in the moment. But again, I think anything can happen. I think it can go both ways. That's kind of why we were setting this up as such a close matchup and such an important one, because like we were talking about in the very beginning, both of these teams are going to be going up against huge names in Arjor and Uprising Academy. Yeah. If you are Drifters, Drifters are going up against Arjor and SMC, and Wisp, they're going up against Arjor and Uprising Academy. So this is, again, such a must-win series for both of these teams that I just think it has to be a toss-up. You can't really edge either one.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, I could not agree more. I think both these teams, it's really going to come down to not individual performance, but as a team, it's really going to come down to, can you beat this other team? Are you able to take these maps out from underneath? Because if it continues to stay this close, I mean, it's really going to be a difficult matchup.
Yeah, it will be. I have to fully agree on that. No, but what we are seeing here is going to be a the Drifters who start out on defense, and defensively, double bubble seems to be the name of the game, and I think this is to be expected considering what we have been seeing on Gibraltar as of late. I think we're going to see that double bubble comp work both ways as well, and that's what it looks to be for the moment. So
I'm excited.
I think my eyes mostly onto the Sombras, assuming Doom goes to a Sombra after this teleport, and in addition to it, will Andruari get big value out of the McCree, or will it just kind of get farmed by Rocket? We've seen Rocket take lots of these duels and, well, do pretty well with them, in fairness, but is this going to be the time that Rocket steps up?
I really have to wonder that as well, and honestly, they're going to go for that Symmetra TP strat, which I don't know if my brain is just too small to understand, but every time they do that, I kind of wonder why, because usually they just drop down immediately afterward, and Bo, with a very sloppy play there, just going to be diving right into the team, no translocator to run to, going to have his head taken off for the efforts. Anduari is going to be able to find that kill. an immediate 5v6 here in favor of Wisp. This could be their fight to take. They can at least get through the car wash phase.
Yeah, well, and I mean, slight engagements either direction, but the reason you take that teleporter, by the way, Sept, is that you want to not have to use any of your movement abilities to get up onto the high ground, and that's what you're looking for, not necessarily to, you know, not to gain anything beyond that.
Learn something new every day, and I learned that, folks. That is not something I ever understood, but now I do, and Crimson understands something as well. Don't dive into a bio nade, because CJ is going to take that Winston clean out of the fight coming through here. It's going to be a 5v6 once again in favor of Wisp, and this feels very reminiscent of the Dorado we saw earlier today, where as soon as it started, it just didn't stop. And now we see a contest finally coming through. Rocket dancing around on point, but has to recall very quickly, but it buys just enough time for Crimson to return. So maybe this is a fight possible for the Drifters to turn things around. Wisp, Joshua just farming this Primal, already 75% of the way there, and Anduari finds Neptune. It looks like this Winston not going to be far behind. There he goes. The sleep comes through, but it may already be too late. Just like that, the Drifters are ripped apart. 5 minutes left on the clock here for Wisp, and like I said, this cart has stopped. I'm not sure when it's going to stop.
Yeah, I mean, it seemed to not stop whatsoever on that first point. I mean, sure, it was just a momentary lapse in movement on the very end of point number 1, but beyond that, it was unstoppable. And on top of that, I mean, Drifters, they seem to be a little bit lost on how or when to engage on this composition at the moment. Now, they're going to have some ultimates and tools to work with now, so maybe that's going to be a bit easier.
Oh! Didn't even have to pop the Primal Rage, and Neptune was already taken offline there. Skyward not far behind. This Primal's going to be able to find ship as well. Speaking of ships, this one has sailed. I mean, Wisp, they are just continuously burning through this team time and time again. Drifters have, I feel none of them have even really found a lot of value quite yet. They just keep getting rolled through.
I mean, you're right. I mean, it's a straight up roll, and there's not a lot to kind of break down from their perspective because they're not engaging very well. Now, once they have some ultimates online, I think they're going to feel as if they can kind of have a couple of other options. And, well, there's option number 1, get grabbed.
Get grabbed. A huge one at that. The EMP comes out, but that EMP is a relatively sloppy one. It may give them the victory at the end of the day, and this sleep may do the very save for Doomed. Going to be taken out in that final moment. Sako is not going to be far behind, and you know, as I say it, that EMP, it was a weird one, but it looks like it may have worked out. Yeah,
I mean, I think we can give some, you know, solid props to Skyward as well on that sleep dart. Certainly making life miserable for Doomed and actually making the Tracer, you know, ineffective in that one. So a bit of an advantage when it comes to the ultimates, sure, but it is going to be both of those support ults still up for Wisp. So lots of options for either side, and Crimson right now just trying to buy time with this Primal Rage, and he's doing that fairly well, but it's not really gaining much of an advantage other than the time sink. The big key is for Boat to be sitting up on top of this ship, and, well, that is the big idea.
Oh, what a grab, and there's the Pulse Bomb to boot. Somehow, some way, does not find anybody with the Pulse Bomb, but they are able to pick up both the tanks immediately after. And I've got to be honest, I'm glad to see Boat off the McCree. The Sombra did not, or on the McCree, the Sombra did not seem to be working out here too well on Gibraltar. But now, like you said, McCree on the high ground, a little bit uncontested, so that could be a lot of great value coming through.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Sombra was a good idea, but it just didn't work out is the problem.
Right.
And now, especially with this high ground advantage, Boat can rain damage on to anyone as they push through either of these 4 choke points as they move. And we see that happening right now. But Neptune, the big defensive ultimate, and there it is.
Yeah, huge nano coming through. They even sleep Joshua, but somebody wakes him up straight away and kiss the high ground goodbye. Even if you do not die, Joshua is going to knock you down off the high ground, it seems. And another sleep dart comes through from Skyward there. And Joshua may pay the price of his life for it. He may be able to make it out if he's lucky, but it looks like it's going to be a close matchup there. He will survive and drop down to the rest of the team, but the wheels have finally been stopped here on this cart. And only 2 minutes left on the clock. Wisp has to do something.
They do, and it was a great job from Neptune to use that rally. Great timing, and oh, this nano boost is just devastating. Just Crimson taking life after life off the back of the Tesla cannon, and with that, Crimson, I mean, able to form up another one of these big key ultimates that I've been talking about in the Primal Rage. So lots of time to potentially burn out the clock in the Primal Rage is here, the Deadeye is here, and soon Ship is going to have another Graviton Surge. So from this position up on top of the boathouse, Drifters, they're looking about as good as they have been all series long.
Absolutely. They might be able to find one kill if they're lucky with that high noob, but it looks like nothing's going to be coming through quite yet. And now we see caught out on the side is going to be Soko, kind of caught around the corner. Primal Rage from Crimson, who has bought himself quite a lot of time. Not a fan of that grab in the slightest, but it looks like it may be able to give Soko just enough time to escape with their life. And as I say, they still very well may lose that life at the end of the day. Anduari is going to be able to take the high ground for the first time in a long time, but Crimson will still find that first kill in favor of Drifters. I'm not sure Wisp is going to make it any further here on Gibraltar.
Yeah, I mean, unfortunately, that grab doesn't work out, and I understand why you say not a fan of it. But in essence, it was a good idea. But the problem was that Soko didn't have enough charge to actually make that work. If it had worked out, you know, splitting off the two parts of the team there was a decent effort. But again, not enough. And now with Ship's Graviton Surge, this looks to be all going one way, and that's Drifters.
Yeah, no doubt about that. Joshua does pick up Neptune, but for the price of his Tracer, Doomed will be taken offline very late in the fight here. And Joshua in the back line looking to find the Ana. Looks like he may have faded the sleep dart, but it looks like he's not going to make it out with his life. Maybe if he's lucky, but lucky is not on the side of Wisp today, as Joshua will fall, making this final fight a 5v6. We see the grab up onto the high ground. I think that's Vega caught up in there as well. And winning this fight is certainly not impossible, but my goodness, is it going to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, engagement with the rally, both sides as well, and the nano boost is the difference maker.
Yep, the nano boost just ends the fight before it can even really begin. CJ and Anduari both going to fall there. Soko is going to lose that mech late in the fight. And just like that, it looks like this may be coming to a close for Wisp.
I mean, that's brilliant stuff. Drifters, I mean, what a way to turn a map around, by the way. I mean, they looked, I mean, no disrespect, they looked AFK first point. Like they just didn't touch the point. They tried, they kind of poked and prodded, but it never got to that point. And then now they've been able to not only take all of the time off the clock, but stop the card and keep position and push them all the way back to spawn. I mean, really solid adjustments from Drifters once they got up onto the high ground. I mean, listen, there is a reason that this is such a hard point to take, is because once you regain control of the rocket ship up there, I mean, it's pretty hard to actually deal with. And yes, I did not do that on purpose. Rocket ship, LOL, ha ha ha. I'm sorry. It was an accident, I swear.
Quite literally no pun intended on that one. But I understand why Drifters are doing better on Volskaya, or on Gibraltar, excuse me. This is the map they chose, right? This is the map they wanted to come in with. They knew Crimson would do well on this Winston, and by God, has he. And I honestly, Skyward so far, these nanos, these sleeps, they have been nothing short of flawless. So a huge shout out to Skyward on what we've seen so far. I can only hope that after this, you know, if Wisp, if they lose this one, which unfortunately seems likely, I can only hope they come into a map a little bit differently, and one that maybe they can play that brawl on, because they were looking clean with it earlier.
Well, the good news for them is that we have yet to see a hybrid, so you know what that means.
True.
I mean,
true. King's Row, perhaps.
Yeah, there's lots of hybrid maps in there. Take your pick. And with that, though, we are going to get engaged. Similar comps. I mean, I say similar. It's basically the exact same, though the key difference is actually the teleport strat outside is going to be to the left, and they're going to take the stairs rather than get up top out in the open. And Anduari going to be on the Ash. No McCree this time around for Wisp.
Yeah, it's always a difficult choice to make. Do you want the flashbang or do you want the dynamite? And it looks like maybe they're going for a little bit more damage. They're not worried about anybody getting up close and personal. They're going to try to farm that Bob as quickly as possible, because nobody hits shots quite like Bob. And now we see Crimson jumping in very early on. I think we're seeing the same issue right now for Wisp, is they're giving up a lot of free space for the time being. They're already making the car into the car wash, though.
Oh, but that's a big pick. With the main tank going down, Crimson gone. I mean, yes, it's traded for Soko, but it feels like you're going to have to disengage if you are the side of Drifters, and indeed you do. No, I mean, yes, you're still pushing the cart, but it's tentative at that.
Yeah, tentative indeed, and I'm curious to see if the Drifters can find their footing. So it's kind of wild to consider their time bank's already worse than what it was for Wisp, as they had just burned through this first point. But now coming through, I'm very curious to see if Drifters can find their footing. We've seen carts get stalled right here hundreds, if not thousands of times. So I wouldn't be surprised to see that very same coming from Wisp. And for Wisp to win their opponent's choice, I mean, that is a message all in itself. But with a very large rotation around the high ground here, trying to find the support. Might be able to find the Ana, but that anti-nade didn't exactly do quite what CJ wanted it to. However, Vega here to clean up crew, boat sent back to spawn. That McCree is not going to make it much further. And the Drifters maybe struggling to find their footing, especially Ship. Neptune is gone. And Skyward caught on their lonesome, not going to be able to make it out with their life either.
Yeah, and the fact that this fight goes so one-sided for Wisp, and they didn't even use any of their big ultimates, is so incredible.
Phenomenal.
Yeah, I mean, CJ had the nano boost, so I was actually going to mention mid-fight, but didn't get a chance to, that CJ could just throw in that nano boost and farm up Jishua's Primal Rage, as well as be probably the fight turner. But they don't even need that, and now it's going to be 6 ultimates to contend with. I mean, expect this next fight, let's just say, to be a Q-fest. But with Drifters in the disadvantage, I can't imagine a way in which they pull it out.
Yeah, absolutely. This is going to be very, very tough. They've got the high noon, they've got the pulse bomb. One of those is going to have to be just colossal,
huge.
Isn't even the word. One of those is going to have to be massive. And Doom's ultimate, actually, that pulse bomb going to be the complete opposite. Not able to find any eliminations there, so a little bit of lower value coming out of the pulse bomb. Here's the nano. I praised these earlier today. Skyward's nanos have been huge, but Crimson not able to get what he wants. Has to pop that primal. A bit of a disaster, and the nano Winston. Oh, Joshua taken out. Insult to injury there. The high noon sleep dart combo, a nasty one at that. Rocket looking for a pulse bomb of their own about 3 minutes later, but it looks like the Drifters may be able to cap this point, and just like that, it's done. Nobody's able to touch.
Oh my goodness, just forcing them back into that one choke point, and that's the difference maker. For Drifters, they're able to pick it up. It feels like they were losing the fight, but they still found those key picks. And, I mean, look, I mean, in fairness, Wisp, they didn't die, they fell back.
Right.
Because they just couldn't get to the point. So a big moment here on this ship, because whoever fights and whoever wins this high ground, more than likely going to take this all the way.
Yeah, I can definitely agree with that. They will at least take the fight. Speaking of high ground, oh, what a graph, but there's no follow-up. Crimson will fall, but nobody's able to make it in time. We see Joshua dive in, but he takes a little bit too long in the air and is not able to follow up off the back of it. Luckily, they were able to pick up that Winston before the grab came to an end. Boat is gone, and now the grab coming out a little bit late for Ship here, but even one elimination, even better, 2 could turn the fight in their favor, but now the support line being ripped apart. No, Neptune just barely able to take the win out from underneath. Ship now coasting the card in, getting danger close to capping that second point.
Dude, Ship had so much help there for Neptune. What an incredibly crucial kill. And on top of that, Neptune staying alive is so impactful now. Skyward has the nano boost, and this should be it.
Robert, hello, my friend. He runs past the point, isn't able to contest a little bit late in the fight there, but it looks like he's distracting them just enough. Dude picks up Ship, and that could be the time to turn this around. The bomb has fallen to a clean 6v5, still on the table. The Zarya now missing, and all that charge going to be down the drain as well. This could be the opportunity that Wisp needed, but now that Primal, or that Nano Winston, he is back in the fight. There's the Primal, a little bit of foreshadowing there on my part. Going to be struggling a little bit with these juggles. No kills quite yet. He's going to knock CJ out of the fight, but the sleep! Crimson going to bed. No matter how angry he is, that sleep dart's going to be a little bit stronger. Anuari picks up Boat. Crimson taken out by Vega. 150 left on the clock. Is it possible that Wisp can snatch a victory from the jaws of defeat here?
Well, it absolutely is. Like I said, whoever wins the control of the ship is absolutely putting themselves in prime positions. But beyond that, the entirety of that ult advantage, it disappears. It's entirely gone now. Drifters, they don't have anything at all. And Andruari can shoot down with ease along these sight lines. Every bit of damage doing huge problems for this Drifter side as they attempt to engage.
Yeah, I mean, already halfway to another Bob. Talk about convenient. Boat just using High Noon for no reason, it seems. Looks like he's not able to get any kind of value coming through that. Neptune has that rally online, and that as well. A little bit, you know, not as useful as they may have wanted. They luckily do get that extra armor, which may be able to help them win this fight, but Neptune not even going to get to be a part of the fight, taken out by that Primal Rage. Crimson will fall to Vega as well. There's only 50 seconds left, and I mean, this is Wisp's fight for the taking.
So, I mean, and going back to that Deadeye that you were talking about getting no value, the incredible part about that is it wasn't that it didn't get any value, except it was that you had to use it just to create enough space to get out of the doorway.
Right, it was forced.
Yeah, I mean, like, the value was just enough space to walk. That's what's incredible.
They were walking to their own grave, which is the worst part.
Yes. Now Boat swapping over onto this Widowmaker. It's a last-second desperation play to try and find an opening pick.
Yeah, desperation is certainly the way that the Drifters are headed for the time being. Soko gonna be with a very cheeky grab onto Ori, literally less than 5 health there, finally gonna heal him. Oh, the pulse bomb! Not quite able to find a kill there. Boat will take out CJ, however, the Ana has fallen. Doomed is doomed as well. The bomb has to come out. It has to be massive, and Boat gonna miss that headshot in the final moments. And this bomb doing a great job stalling, at least forcing overtime, but the numbers on the side of Wisp are just falling one by one. Anduari is able to find Boat, but is it already too late? Nobody's able to make it. We see the point coming through. Anduari will fall. CJ does find Neptune. The brig is gone. Joshua trying to make dreams come true. Ship is going to fall with the Primal Rage coming out from Crimson. Maybe even stronger. He may be able to force this team off point. He's going to get stunned out. Drop down to half of his health bar coming through. Anduari has to swap. Joshua has fallen to Rocket, but Crimson is gone. The rally out coming out from Vega, desperate to keep this team alive. Skyward sent back to spawn as well. Anduari picks up Rocket, and that has done it! Just barely by the skin of their teeth. Wisp takes Gibraltar, and they are able to live another day, putting themselves up 2-1 in the series, one map away from a victory.
Drifters had the counter pick, but Wisp had the answers, and it is absolutely incredible to watch live as it happens. And like I said, whoever controls the ship controls this point, and it was all Drifters all the time, right up until the very last moment. Awkward. Where Wisp just were able to take it and move the needle just ever so slightly into their winning direction, and 2-1 now the score line. I mean, it seems that every single map right now just is this close. It's so very close. There's barely anything between these two teams, and I mean, wow. I mean, this is just incredible stuff. I love what we're seeing. I think that Drifters, I mean, the fact that they were not able to take that point, it just goes to show you how powerful the respawn advantage is. I don't even think they made a mistake there. They found a nice opening, but unfortunately, they just didn't have the respawn advantage that Wisp did. Not to mention the ultimates coming in, that rally, the nano boost off the back of onto the Brigida, I believe, that farmed the rally. Like, there's so many things working together to allow for Wisp to just step up enough to take that the next map and take this series by its head, because they are in the lead now.
Just barely, but that one map in the lead, I mean, that's going to be a great value coming through. And I think oh, that's horrible news to hear from production, because I was just about to say I think Drifters picking King's Row is going to be a nail in the coffin for them. I think that is a disastrous mistake. Personally, I mean, I can't stop thinking about Joshua's Reinhardt. Like, it is stapled into my brain, and I think we're no, just kidding, we're not. So I'm very curious to see if Joshua is he about to become the MVP? Because his Rhine on Anubis, which I wouldn't really consider to be a Reinhardt map often, to imagine going to King's Row, a map that I often say is built for Reinhardt. I mean, this Crimson and Ship are going to have to play out of their absolute minds here.
I mean, listen, maybe we're going to see something like that Ardor comp that we've been seeing with the ball. Right. Like, I think that's a possibility, I guess. But that just doesn't feel like Drifter's wheelhouse, really. I mean, the whole point of that comp is that you use the ball in order to disrupt, and you're really doing a lot of work with your DPS in order to get hacks and all that kind of stuff. That is kind of where that goes, and it feels like that's not what Drifters have wanted to do. Not to mention, no disrespect to both, but I don't feel that the Sombra has been all that wonderful whenever that comes out. I think that from the DPS perspective, Boat has been much better when it comes to McCree and that hit scan. So all of those things kind of coming together tell me that, Wisp on paper should have the advantage, but we haven't seen... Put it this way, we haven't seen a Rein Zarya composition come out just yet. I would like to. And I recall Drifter's Rein Zarya was quite strong when it came to Open Division. Now that was a month or so ago. Well, a little bit more than that, right? But I mean, that was some time ago, and so it's not quite the same yet, just anymore. But maybe, just maybe, this King's Row big brain composition for Drifters, they come out swinging. But I have to be honest with you, I agree wholeheartedly, Septilence, that this is looking like Drifters have written their own death note.
Yeah, I mean, they're staring down the barrel of defeat here. And like you said, the Rein Zarya may be very strong. I haven't been able to see it yet, but I've heard legend of Joshua on that Reinhardt, so I'm very curious to see if he's going to come out in full swing here. It looks like Wisp is going to be starting on the offense, so we'll get an answer to our question very early on. Don't get me wrong, I would love to see one of those Symmetra TP Bastion things that happens on King's Row. I think those are hysterical, but maybe these players aren't going for hysterical because we cannot stress enough how important this game is.
Yeah, I mean, I think that is not even... I mean, it's not even a question mark for me, because whenever it comes down to this next map, this series in general, like we said, I mean, realistically, I think that this defines who has an opportunity to move forwards towards contenders, and who's going to be stuck down into the depths of the tier 3 kind of scene. And I think that listen, all of these teams, all these players, they grind for so long, they grind so hard that you never want to be in that position.
Of course, yeah. I mean, we see these players just fight absolute tooth and nail to make it this far and to survive kind of up into this moment here. But Wisp, I don't want to say I have faith, so to speak, but I would not be surprised if they come out on top of Kings Row here. We're going to be jumping in. Looks like we're going to be able to get things lined up in just a moment, and looks like Kings Row, of course, is going to be that map. We talked about that a lot. Only time will tell, but Drifters are going to have to do what feels like the impossible right now.
Yeah, it truly does feel like it has to be that. Losing on your map pick is never an ideal scenario, and that's what we just saw happen last time out, and it was in the favor of Wisp, where Drifters had picked the map, and now Drifters back into that same position where there's a potential to lose out as we head straight into the map. Well, a legendary one at that, Kings Row, the streets of London. You love to see it.
Yeah, as both a Reinhardt and Junkrat player, this map holds a very special place in my heart. Both of those gentlemen get a lot of value here, and I'm curious to see that Ryan already alive on both sides. Ryan Sigma, however, that is, I feel interesting is a good word. Now, of course, I want to point out Rocket on May, Doomed on Widow, but of course, I called it the Kings Row Widow earlier, actually. Of that gameplay style of gates open, you go for a headshot, you don't find one, all right, swap onto something else. I would suspect some kind of hit scan from Doomed, maybe an Echo, which is a hit scan, but
The Sigma here from Ship is very strong. I think one of the stronger characters, in my opinion.
I agree.
That I've seen, at least. Though, I mean, in fairness, I think Ship's a very intelligent player, has a lot of good characters to show. But boat onto the Hanzo, a key difference as well. You mentioned Rocket. We've seen Rocket play on the Mei before. This is not new, but what is maybe more new, at least for this series, is Doomed onto that Mei. So this Mei duel going to be key in defining who is going to come out victorious.
Yeah, now going up around through this is a very dangerous thing to do, because if the wall from Rocket connects, somebody is caught, held up on a pedestal for the opposing team. Neptune waiting for the opportunity, able to find it, but the wall from Doom is going to be able to keep everybody alive. Neptune able to make it out with his life, so a full 6v6 still. Nobody has fallen, and I'm very curious to see what is going to be the course of action here for Wisp caught in this corridor.
Yeah, I mean, they've just got to kind of wait for those for the resources to come back online, and once they do, now they can push forward and get this rotation moving.
Across. Yep, okay, the speed boost across, falling classics, but speaking of falling, Joshua, he's hungry for a kill. My man coming in hot. He's going to fall to the low ground, trying to find any opportunity that he can. CJ, however, with the first blood, going to be able to find Boat and a garage door opening wide up. That amplification matrix coming through that damage booster for the entirety of Wisp. Anduari and CJ taking full advantage. A tick already confirmed, a little bit over a minute off the clock. The second tick may come through, trying to buy their time. Skyward with a garage door of his own. This really could still be anybody's fight.
Yeah, but I mean, everybody falling back now, and nearly threading the needle. That would have been brilliant from Crimson.
Yeah, no, that's a phenomenal shot from Anduari there. Like you said, able to find Neptune, and now it's going to be another, and I'm calling that a C9. They had plenty of opportunity to touch, they chose not to, and Anduari is making them pay the price with a 4K. That is going to be a complete and technical team kill coming through. That was not to beat them up any further, because I know they're in a losing position, but that was not the call from Drifters. That was, I feel, a very big mistake.
I think it was, but you also have to put it into perspective that they also had no health to push through.
Very true.
It was a forced error, not an unforced error. And yes, they should have been able to touch, but they just didn't have the health to do it. Not to mention the fact that Crimson actually had the Earth Shatter available far ahead of Joshua in that fight. Now both of them have that Earth Shatter online, as do both the DPS for either side. So realistically, this is going to come down to those DPS ultimates, though Vega might play a key role in the sole defensive ult available. That sound barrier coming online and now up and ready to go.
Absolutely, and like you said, that sound barrier is going to be online. You'll have had 6 ultimates, nearly 60, excuse me, my goodness. Another Rabbinic Flux coming out early, the Blizzard. In response from Doom, here's some Dragons to boot, and Crimson, he's shocked if he makes it out with his life, but he most certainly will not. Rocket gone as well, and just like that, there is Nobody will hold back. Joshua, 80 damage per swing. That hammer is a heavy one, my friends. And Joshua showing Drifters up close and personal how heavy that hammer really can be. A complete and total team kill. That is 2 in a row here. Wisp, like we said, this is exactly the outcome I expected.
Yeah, and Vega, I mean, just hard out to playing Neptune at this point with regard to the ult charge. It really saved the team. Vega had, you know, the ultimate available for Chip, and now re-engagement comes through. This time, Gravitic Flux from Soko.
Gravitic Flux and Blizzard, so a very similar combo. Rocket is going to put that push out. Crimson with the Shatter, able to find 4 actually. Going to be able to find a lot of damage there. Joshua and Vega will fall, but I mean, if you're Wisp, you are not sweating this fight. You got 3 ultimates out. You've got nearly 5 minutes on the clock. You've got nothing to be worried about right now.
No, you got time for days at this point. And the only positive thing to come out of this for Drifters is that they are going to have both of those support ultimates online. Skyward, if you play your cards right, could win this fight with just this Amp Matrix.
Yeah, absolutely. The Matrix could be a big one, and it looks like they might not have the opportunity to use it as Skyward will be taken out by Anduari there. Anduari, however, will be taken out by Ship right after, and Joshua with a phenomenal Earth Shatter once again. I think was able to find 5 in the mix-up. 3 kills off of it. The Reinhardt not too far behind. I'm calling that a technical team kill. Skyward just respawned.
Yeah, and beyond that, I mean, Neptune, what a great timing on the sound barrier. Neptune did literally everything possible, right?
Yep.
But Crimson got so far forward that Joshua's Earth Shatter was as free as it ever be. And, I mean, everyone on their backs, no chance to come back in.
Absolutely. Anduari has these dragons ready once again. Boda Mahanzo finally able to pick up a kill onto CJ. Possibly his first elimination of the map coming through. Anduari is going to be able to take him out as well. Neptune finds Joshua, but price may have been paid. I think we're looking at a 2v5 if I'm not mistaken. Anduari picks up Ship, and that is a name I have said quite a lot. This Hanzo is, I feel terrifying isn't even the word. This Hanzo is near flawless. Neptune will be taking out the dragons from Boda. A bit of a panic. We see the Doomfist go for a bit of a runaway. Rocket will fall. Anduari finds Boda after a kill on to Doom, but the dragons pick up Crimson, and the card will keep a rolling. 3 minutes and 10 seconds, and I realistically don't know if Wisp could have done that much better.
I had to be with you. I don't think that they could have. I mean, they played it.
Very few mistakes.
Yeah, and beyond that, even when the mistakes weren't like, even when we're talking like it wasn't as if Wisp were looking to make mistakes, they just created mistakes for Drifters where they simply didn't exist. I think back
forced mistakes. What did you call it? Forced errors.
Yeah. I mean, it's the old classic forced fumble, or yeah, in this case the forced error. And I mean, again, we talked about the advantage that Vega had initially with the sound barrier coming up online so early. It canceled out Ship's Gravitic Flux, and in addition to that, the dragons from Boat, so that immediately taken out. And even when Neptune had a sound barrier of their own, it was a big mistake from Crimson that just kind of allowed for Joshua to stamp the MTD onto the map.
Yeah, no doubt about that. I mean, Joshua lived up to the title, and now I'm almost sad to see him on something else. He's going to be locking into Sarisa here for the defense, that original double shield, and Doomed on the Genji. I talked about this earlier. I don't think I'm ever a fan of a Genji if there's not an Ana to boot, but maybe Doomed can prove me wrong. Only time will tell.
I'm going to keep it real. I think this is Doomed having a bit of a good time here. If I'm being honest.
A performance like that, why would you not?
Yeah, I mean, that's just it, right? You got 3 points to work with, 3 minutes and 10 seconds on the clock. Like, if the Genji doesn't work out, then it doesn't work out. And, I mean, to be fair, Genji into this comp is pretty tragic.
Oh! DJ gonna get dismissed from the fight early, and that just made this so difficult for Wisp to come out of. They've got no main support. They've got a Brig, but they've got a Brig hanging out on the high ground. They've really got to find an opportunity to re-engage on this fight. Already 2 ticks gone, not even 30 seconds off the clock. No way they give this up.
I mean, they kind of have to. Like, you have no supports.
Oh, wow.
Like, I think that's the right decision. You have to just engage here on the second corner, because if you don't give that up, I think it's just free ult charge. And we saw that happen before, remember, on map number 1
very true.
For Drifters. Yeah, exactly. Where Drifters just kind of W-keyed in despite having a disadvantage, and they gave away a huge ult advantage. So now, making what I call the right decision, re-engagement is here with the double shield.
Yeah, what a dynamite coming through. Crimson gonna get stunned to oblivion there. Still barely able to make it out thanks to the help of that immortality field. Doomed, however, was able to find that ammo field, and one from CJ falls as well. Nobody remains invincible here on this map any longer. Gonna get caught right underneath that arch. We see Wisp. I think you're right, Vince. Now that I've seen it play out, I think falling back was absolutely the proper call because they got to hold way closer than they would have been able to if they lost that fight anyway.
Gosh,
Neptune will find Vega, but Crimson will fall in the pull into Gravitic Flux. Everybody gonna get ripped apart here by Wisp. This Sigma making all the difference. Able to burn already a minute off. They've got to do that about 5 more times.
I mean, the coordination there. Let me just kind of add all the things that went together. We had the dynamite into the hold, plus the accretion into the hold, plus on top of that, you had the Genji dash into that hold, plus on top of that, the Gravitic Flux. What incredible coordination coming through from Wisp. That was just beautiful to watch. If you're a fan of Overwatch, you're a fan of what we just saw.
Because, no doubt about that.
I mean, that was just on point. Fortunately, they lost enough players that they had to fall back here because of the nature of this composition. But still a Bob on play, so as soon as they want to stop this card, they can.
Soko just gave away his position, I think, but no. Okay, just kidding. Nobody saw him, so the pull into the accretion into Soko, just farming another Gravitic Flux. Robert is going to be online. Everybody's favorite aim Bob making an appearance. 7v6 coming through. Ship will be the first to fall. Crimson not far behind. Doom has the blade, but certainly will not need it as all of Drifters are ripped to absolute shreds on what I often refer to as King's Row 1.5 because we see so many cards get stalled right here.
Well, and if you're looking at Drifter's ult bank, you might be thinking that's a really solid bank of ultimates to potentially take this. But the key here is look at the amount of armor available here for this squad. If Doomed holds on to some of that, and on top of that, you see Joshua engage with the Supercharger, that's a great value.
Oh, Supercharger into Blade, and you know that always is a little bit of a Nano Blade similarity, a little bit of a parallel ultimate combo there, and it certainly worked out. Joshua now maybe on a bit of a rampage himself. That horse refuses to go down. Another team kill, I believe, either the 3rd or 4th team kill here for Wisp.
Yeah, and you were talking about not being a fan of the Genji with regard to that, and yeah, I agree with you. It's typically not that great, but if you're going to use it, using it with that Supercharger, the best way to go about it. So, really intelligent play coming through there from Wisp, but the problem is, intelligent play can only get you so far if you don't have ultimates.
Absolutely, you need those ultimates to succeed. Like you said, the intelligence can only carry you so far in this matchup. And now a little under 3 minutes, so half the time bank going to be taken out. They have to use Rocket's Blizzard to just get around the corner. But little do they know, they just walked into a Gravitic Flux. 5 going to get picked up. All 5 make it back to the ground, but I'm not sure for how long here. The Shatter coming out from Crimson, able to find 5 of his own, but now he's not going to be able to get any value off the back of it. Doomed has fallen. There goes CJ, and Bob has to come out from Anduari trying to make up for lost time. Though going to be taken offline just like that, and this is still a winnable fight for both teams. I think the Drifters having just a little bit of an advantage, possibly not for long.
Yeah, I mean, Drifters, I think, ultimately going to be able to clean this one up off the back of it, but it took everything that they had, all but Neptune, investing their ultimates, and, I mean, it's just, it feels like that they need everything to go right through Drifters to win some of these fights. Now, sure, Boat going to have another of these ultimates coming up online. Those dragons, we can see what they've been able to do, but their effectiveness has been limited by the positioning of the rest of Wisp. But we'll have to see, though, as the high ground positioning is quite effective, and there's no one really to contest it other than Doom.
Right, I want to see Anduari back on the Hanzo. I don't know why he ever got off of it. That was so scary. That was so impressive. But the Ashe, I mean, Bob has made a huge impact as well. So perhaps they know what's going on a little bit more than I do. But they've got a couple of ultimates here coming out on the side of Wisp. We see that V coming out on the side of Riders, excuse me. And I'm very curious to see what's going to be coming out of Drifters, excuse me, again. Crimson is going to be the first to fall. CJ getting that Vengeance first kill after he was taken out first in that initial defense. Boat is going to be caught out for a moment, but we'll be able to find Vega some cheeky dragons here in the back line. But it looks like Boat may not be able to live much longer. What a shot from Skyward with the help of that Hanzo there. The Blizzard now coming out from Rocket. There's absolutely nowhere to run. Doom will fall. Soko will fall as well. And a big mistake, I think, coming out from the Drifters is they commit those ultimates very early. They're not going to be able to push the cart all the way in off those kills.
Well, I mean, they also weren't on the cart that early. It's now the blade comes out.
Exactly.
And there's nothing to contend with it. Though, that said, only gets one.
No!
2!
Picks up Rocket right at the end of the blade there. And oh, no! Doomed! Oh!
Ship comes in and is like, hey, dude, it's okay. I'll join you.
Yeah, Ship with the homie stock coming through, taking himself offline. That was That was unfortunate to say the very least, but I don't think it's going to be costing anybody anything but a good laugh. And now Wisp, they've got 3 ultimates coming into this next fight. Drifters looking at 1, maybe 2 if Crimson can get into the fight.
Yeah, but Crimson's been big with these. If he finds a good Earth Shatter, that might be the tide turner.
I agree. I wholeheartedly agree that I think Crimson can make a huge difference. And the Bob coming out from Anduari gets caught out by Rocket's wall, so Bob not making much of an appearance.
Yeah, I think this is really solid from Drifters. They made a very intelligent decision there. Both CJ and Anduari forcing their ults, and they got nothing.
Oh, here we go. A great Gravitic Flux coming through on both sides, but 0 eliminations off the back of an Immortality Field. Pretty much negates the kill factor of that ultimate, and now we see Anduari halfway to another Bob already, which is a terrifying thing to consider. Crimson does hit a 1-man Earth Shatter and will find the kill off the back of it. Soko will fall. The cart maybe walked in slowly, but surely. Soko gone, Anduari gone, and the rest of the team will fall one by one. Possibly we see a little bit, the forced transformation. Doomed just trying to buy as much time as possible right now. It looks like we are looking at that pure stall potential. Soko trying to recontest, might play that spin to win if we're lucky, but no, gets taken right off the map, finds Rocket as well. 310 to 102. It's possible for the Drifters, but I think it's certainly going to be difficult.
Yeah, I mean, I think that the Drifters, they kind of, like, not that they've been unserious thus far. I don't mean that, but what I do think that is they've buckled down. They got to the point where like guys, we're gonna lose this if we aren't careful. And they really look to force advantages, to look out for the early disengages, and they did a good job of doing that. So whenever Drifters kind of had an opportunity to disengage from an ultimate, they did just that, and they did it well. Wisp getting a bit too aggressive with their usage at the end. But regardless of that fact, it is, like you said, a long road ahead with a 2-minute advantage in the time bank. It really is. I mean, it's the difference between being able to kind of sit back, relax, and farm 6 ultimates if you really wanted to, right, if you're Wisp. And for Drifters, they have to engage, they have to do it fast, and they cannot mess up but one time.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, that's exactly what we've got going on right here, and I'm very curious to see kind of that initiation, if we're going to see that 3-minute stall, that 3-minute kind of slow burn from Wisp, because we saw about a 60-second cap come out from Drifters the first time around. Now, to be fair, it was off of the back of a very lucky headshot.
Oh, but, yes.
You know, I'm curious if they're going to come into that same level of aggression.
Well, look at what we're seeing, though. It's basically the exact same composition that we started out with all the way at the very beginning, and it's going to be the mirror. So we saw, I mean, very clearly, Wisp kind of getting, a bit cheeky with it there with that prior composition.
Now, already about a quarter of the time bank has been burned to the ground, and we're going to be able to play a little bit of tiny Overwatch here. A wall coming up on both sides. Doomed will be the first one to fall, taken out by Crimson. Boat finds Joshua as well. A 4v6 and a very difficult one at that. Vega jumps right into the line of sight of Boat. Ship will lose that mech, but not much going to come off the back of it. Talk about a good wall from Rocket. This diva will not be escaping here today. Going to give her life for the cause. Buy as much time as possible. 20 seconds left, and this is going to be the now or never moment. Wisp want to stall this cart as quickly as possible.
Yeah, it's a big stagger on Soko, though, so it's going to limit the re-engagement to the second corner, I would imagine. But it's all Rocket all the time. That's what turned the tide, that allowed for this Drifter side to get into this position. As I said, though, not actually going to be having to wait. Oh, nice wall.
Oh, that's fantastic. Crimson taken out very early on. Anduari will fall, or will be able to find that kill, but however, Joshua the next to go. Here's the high noon. It picks up Skyward. Phenomenal kill coming through. Finds the D-Mech as well. A quick one at that. Dude picks up Rocket. Another high noon. Immediately kissed goodbye, and Boat will not make it back to the card. That card hardly moves a muscle there. This is Wisp's map to win.
That it is, but it's also Drifters going to be able to have that opportunity to stop them in their tracks. But it's going to have to be that 3-minute 0.1 hold, essentially, as realistically, I mean, yes, you technically have a second fight, maybe, but it's things have to work out well. We'll just put it that way. It's not a guaranteed second fight. So I want to say this needs to be a 0.1 hold for Drifters if they want to take this map. Remember, this map pick is theirs, and we're looking at a 2-1 scoreline already on the series. So that means if Drifters fall here, they fall entirely. It's all over. So it's going to have to be, it's going to have to be everything that they have to offer.
We talked about how crucial this is, how crucial this matchup is, and I mean, Anduari going to be back on the Hanzo was hitting more shots than I think anybody else in the lobby by a notable amount, and I'm very curious to see if Anduari can live back up to that name. It took them a little over a minute to cap first point last time they were on the offense, and if they do that again, if they have 2 minutes and 2 minutes and some change to move the cart a couple of inches, that seems impossible not to do.
Yeah, I mean, I couldn't agree more with you right there. And Juari going to be onto the Hanzo once again as they look to engage this attack. We've seen it before. It's so incredibly solid. But are they going to be able to do it? The double shield coming out here for Wisp is going to be confirmed, whilst Crimson and Ship going to stick with this Reinhardt and Diva. A key difference, maybe. We'll have to see what that nets.
Yeah, now rotating up around to the high
ground.
I love wow,
this.
The Drifter's going to meet them up close and personal. What a bold attempt there. Going to meet them right in that alleyway. Again, a little bit of tiny overwatch here. Everybody just swinging for their life. And Crimson with a massive fire strike, farming that Earth Shatter, but might not be able to use it as Rocket will find that first kill onto Joshua. Rather, Crimson just barely able to make it out by the skin of his teeth. The main tank, now both tanks have been killed. I mean, what does Wisp do here other than die?
I mean, they just have to die. I mean, that's the reality. And slowly is the best case scenario for Drifters, obviously, as they do a good job of doing a bit of staggering. But whoever made that call is an absolute genius. I love whoever did that for Drifters, because that is so intelligent. That it denies all of the positives that having that extra space it gives for the double shield comp, and it just turns the tide immediately. And not to mention the fast movement from Rocket to find those key walls.
Yeah, my goodness.
Truly incredible. As Crimson already has an Earth Shatter.
You know what's been now? Oh, the bait! The bait! They go around and they just rotate back around the statue and watch the Earth Shatter! Crimson kisses that early ultimate goodbye, and it is taken right offline. CJ has that Ant Matrix available, uses it to keep the team alive, and here comes some very angry dragons. There is not an immortality field in sight. Neptune going to be taken offline. That Lucio is gone, kissed goodbye once again, and this is just Wisp's fight to win. 3 fall 1 by 1. They march themselves back to the spawn room, and just like that, takes Wisp a little bit longer than they might like, but they are going to cap that first point.
They might get a recontest here, though, Septilence. It's going to be close with Crimson going down, but I think somebody can touch. 100% somebody should be able to, right?
If they have to swap to Doomfist or Wrecking Ball, I mean, Crimson can charge, but if Joshua counter charges, nobody touches.
Where's Neptune? No, okay, they're up top.
Oh, here we go.
I was like, where are they? I'm just so confused, but no, they're going to be able to touch.
Further back. Well, they're supposed. No, the wall! The wall! No way! No way that does it. Okay, the Hydra behind from both. The Earth Shatter misses. The beat comes out and immediately eliminates it. Here comes a Blizzard coming out now from the side of the Drifters. Rocket commits one. Doom has a Blizzard on his own. Onto will fall. Joshua trying desperately to make this happen. They have to back out. They lost their Hanzo. They've got to wait this one out. They've got 30 seconds. No way this ends in a draw.
And Ship has the self-destruct as well. Can clear the point hypothetically.
Oh, speak of the devil, and he shall appear. The Blizzard doesn't make it out. Doomed is charged by Crimson. Crimson picks up Joshua and this Reinhardt. We talked about the Reinhardt difference, and it might be Crimson all night long. 16 seconds left. Anduari will fall to Ship, and there's no ultimates to boot. They've got to win this fight dry.
Yeah, but Doom swapping over onto the Tracer, looking for something, but hasn't yet found anything. And with all of that said, Skyward has this Immort too.
Oh, the touch is going to come through. We hear the amplification matrix. Anduari's got some dragons, and they're going to have to be nothing short of colossal. They get some damage, but not quite enough. Ship will lose that mech. We see the High Noon online, but Soko finds the kill. Soko picks up another one. Anduari finds Rocket, and just like that, it's going to be over. 4 eliminations make it 5. Skyward, the sole survivor, will be taken offline, and just like that, my friends, we see a 3-1 victory in favor of Wisp. My goodness, what a phenomenal final map.
Holy cow. When we talk about 3-1s that don't tell you a story of how close this series was,
couldn't have been closer.
That is what it is. I mean, what an incredible.
I'm nearly speechless. Talk about a phenomenal final map. And, you know, Wisp, they win it, but my goodness, Drifters fought tooth and nail to try and survive that. That was so close to being a stalemate, but at the end of the day, we saw Wisp just barely able to snatch out that victory, and with that, they give themselves a little bit better of a score moving into their next matchup, which is, I believe, tomorrow. I'm not sure about that, maybe the day after. But either way, they're looking better moving forward no matter what.
Yeah, I mean, we talked about how impactful this has been, what this is for both of these teams, where they're at right now in the trials season, and how impactful this game is, and right now it's Wisp to bring it all the way. And I mean, listen, I didn't know who was going to win, but I kind of had an inkling that maybe Drifters would be slightly favored, but no, not at all. Wisp taking a huge victory here in the last moment there of the map, and obviously closing it down 3-1. I don't even know who to talk about necessarily, because listen, there was that first push, Joshua just stamped MTD all over the forehead of Crimson. I mean, like that was just very, very clear, obvious. But then Crimson came back. Crimson had an incredible performance there at the very end.
He almost won on the map.
He did, and I feel like I can't call that, like, I can't fairly call that an MTD considering. So I have to look towards the likes of Andouari, who had what a phenomenal series.
Absolutely.
Every single DPS pick that we saw from Andouari was on point, and typically, I mean, even at the ultimates, I'd say they were a bit iffy. The Bobs in particular, I was not the biggest fan of. The way that they were able to turn fights in the favor of Wisp was simply unmatched. No one else was doing that.
Yeah, and it looks like we're going to be able to get an interview with the main tank himself. Joshua will be joining us in just a moment, but I believe we're going to throw it to a super short break. Maybe not, but I think we're going to throw it to a very quick break and get him in here. We'll be right back with you guys for an interview in just a moment. Welcome back, everybody, for our final interview of the day. We are here with the powerhouse main tank, the man himself, Joshua. How are you feeling, my friend?
Pretty good. It's a good win.
Yeah, absolutely. A very close one at that. I mean, Kings Row really came down to the wire there. Things were getting a little bit nerve-wracking. So I have to ask, you know, you only played the Reinhardt toward the end, but you kind of stuck to the Winston when, you know, this may be wrong. You may have just been a little bit better on the Reinhardt, but you seemed more comfortable on the Reinhardt. So was the Winston just kind of you guys were trying to stick to the closest meta as possible?
I mean, yeah, we've been practicing a lot of monkey comps because monkey comps are pretty good right now. Rush got a lot worse in the last maybe like month or two, probably definitely a month. But yeah, I guess it's like going back to our roots with Reinhardt.
Yeah, sure.
Because that's when we won Open Division. Like it's kind of like banter too, with like Drifters, because we played them in Open Division and we beat them, and that's how we made Trials the first time. So yeah.
Yeah, heck yeah. I mean, I kind of want to go back to the start of Kings Row. So on the desk here, we were very unsure. We didn't know which way. We kind of put this as a toss-up matchup because both of you guys have kind of had some big successes and some unfortunate losses to kind of the top quality teams in this Trials. But we both on the desk were thinking, okay, Kings Row, I mean, Drifters picking Kings Row, they've just signed their own death warrant. Did you guys in the Wisp camp, did y'all feel the same way?
I mean, I kind of feel like no matter what they picked, we would have felt the same way, because we were just confident regardless, but... Okay. Yeah, I could see that just because it's a Kings Row is typically like a rush map, and I think just like historically our team is just comfortable in rush. So yeah, I could see that being the case. We were just confident going into the map.
Confidence is key, especially in a game like Overwatch. But speaking of confidence, you guys came out with the double shield defense with a Genji on Kings Row there for the first defense. What was the thought process there? Or was there a little bit of BM going on?
It actually wasn't BM. We tried it out in scrims the other day, because it's a comp that like a lot of us feel like we're decent on, and we just thought it worked. So like, you know, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. So we just stuck with it again on Kings, and it had some success. I think we could have played it better, but you know, we had a better defense than them, I think. So it worked out pretty well.
No doubt. Yeah, I mean, y'all had a great defense, and I mean, in fairness, I questioned it at the very beginning, but you guys certainly did put together a really solid defense with it. But beyond that, let me ask one more question before I throw over to you, Septilence. Whenever it came down to okay, this is the matchup. We're going to be playing Drifters. We're both sitting at 2-1 on Trials right now. What was the mindset team-wise? Was there any kind of knowledge? Because we were talking about, like, this is sort of a make-or-break moment, because you guys, I know, you're heading into some tough matchups when it comes to the rest of this week. Were you guys kind of putting a lot of value in this game in particular?
Yeah, I would say we definitely did put a decent amount of value into this game, because, like, you know, like you said, like, we have two pretty hard games, I guess you could say, coming up. So winning this game is just like pretty important, because like I don't think Drifters are really that good of a team. So if we lose, like that would put us in like a really risky position. So like just making sure we like secured the win today definitely helps us in standings. Like we're 3-1 now, I'm pretty sure. So yeah, that's pretty good for us.
Well, so and you move into Ardour tomorrow, and then it's Uprising Academy on the final day. So those two, I mean, are you feeling confident going into both of those matches, or do you think they're really going to be some tough ones?
I mean, yeah, yes and yes. I'm confident, but they're hard teams. Like I think they're gonna be like tougher than other matches that we've recently had. But I'm still confident. Like just take it match by match. We just focus on playing our game, and we'll be fine, I think.
Yeah, that's the best possible mindset to have. So, my friend, before we let you go, first of all, I want to say happy birthday to Vega, who I just found out it's their birthday. Horrible time to find that out at the end of the broadcast. But Vega, if you are watching, you had a great birthday. Yeah, but other than that, I wanted to ask, is there anybody you want to shout out? Is there anything you want to plug before we let you go?
Oh. I never think that's
fine. That's
I guess yeah, shout out like the teams, and then specifically Vega. It's nice that we got a win for his birthday. I shouted out my parents last time, and I thought they liked it, so I shout out my parents again. They're probably watching again. Just the staff for helping us prepare for these games, and yeah, just everyone that helps us win the games.
Yeah, awesome. Well, thank you so much for joining us. And, tell your whole team. We only get to talk to one of you guys, but tell your whole team, huge congrats. You guys did a great job, and it was an awesome game. So thank you so much for joining us. Thanks for playing.
Thank you.
Yeah, of course. And with that, folks, we do get to call it in the evening. There will be more contenders coming at you very soon. But Vincent and I will not be back. Tomorrow we'll be back on the 2nd, so you want to keep an eye on us casting. That would be great. Or if you want to keep an eye on our casting, you can follow us on Twitter. Which I think our Twitters are under us or on screen somewhere. So, yeah, okay, they're up there, so you guys can follow us there. It'd be great to see you and just talk about all things esports. I know it's both of our favorite thing to do. So we'd love to see you guys there. Thank you, everybody, so much for watching. Thank you, everybody, production, Sam Tur and Vint. I can never say your name, I'm so sorry. Vinicius, thank you so much for hanging out and doing what you guys do. Thank you, everybody, for hanging out. Huge shout out to the teams for coming today. And, of course, thank you again, everybody, for watching. For the time being, check your posture, drink some water. Don't forget to love each other, and we'll see you guys later.